Chapter 2247. With a loud bang, the tyrant was sent flying by the primordial emperor's punch. Although the tyrant was terrifyingly powerful, he was still no match for the primordial emperor. Moreover, the tyrant's strength had been greatly weakened. He was probably not even a billionth of his peak strength, making him even more vulnerable. "Ah, Brad, I'm going to kill you," the tyrant roared, wanting to kill Moronyu. But how would Moronyu given the chance? He only had this one chance. No matter what, he had to kill the tyrant. If he let him leave the soul space, the one who would die would be Moronyu. Therefore, all sorts of ultimate skills were unleashed at the tyrant like a torrential downpour. Although the tyrant still had the strength to fight back, he no longer had the strength to attack. He could only passively defend against the stormy waves of attacks. With every attack, the tyrant's strength weakened a little. In addition, the Tree of Life was constantly devouring his soul energy and strength. The tyrant was getting weaker and weaker. If this continued, he would die without a doubt. Suddenly, a noble and domineering purple light exploded from Morongyu's soul. Under Morongyu's control, the purple light ruthlessly bombarded the tyrant emperor's remnant soul with lightning speed. Moronyu had unleashed a purple light attack. One had to know that this purple light was one of the symbols of the chaotic tribe. Once the purple light appeared, the soul tribe's soul was immediately destroyed. Although its effect on the flying soul tribe was much weaker, it was still effective at times. Just like now, caught off guard, the tyrant was directly struck by the purple light. Crack! Instantly, the tyrant's soul was almost shattered. In the next moment, the tyrant let out a blood-curdling scream like a pig being slaughtered. But who was the tyrant? He was a Tao ancestor, the most powerful existence in the universe. Although he was not a soul tribe cultivator, his understanding of Moronyu was no less than that of the average soul tribe cultivator. Amidst his screams, the tyrant quickly gathered his strength and forcefully gathered his shattered soul back together. He knew that he was already a remnant soul now. If he continued to shatter, his strength would greatly decrease. At that time, only death awaited him. However, even if the Overlord's reaction speed was top-notch, it was unavoidable that his soul was severely damaged. His strength dropped again. Furthermore, after this sneak attack, the purple light no longer had any effect on the Tyrant Emperor. The moment the purple light appeared, the Overlord would quickly dodge. Although the purple light was terrifying, it would only be effective if it hit the tyrant. However, because of his fear of the purple light, the tyrant was even more cautious. As such, Moronyu also continuously shot out purple light and used all sorts of killer moves to attack. The Tyrant Emperor complained bitterly. Seeing that the tyrant could only defend, Moronyu heaved a sigh of relief. If this continued, he would still be able to kill the Overlord. However, he did not let his guard down. Before the tyrant was completely killed, even the slightest bit of carelessness could result in an accident, allowing the tyrant to turn the tables. Suddenly, the tyrant's body stiffened. At this moment, Moronyu saw that the Tyrant Emperor's strength had dropped to the level of a Daolord. Submit, Tyrant Emperor. Submit to me, and I can help you reform your physical body." Moronyu laughed loudly, mocking the Tyrant Emperor as he attacked. Subdue the Tyrant Emperor? Moronyu was also shocked by his own sudden thought. If he could make the Tyrant Emperor submit, wouldn't he have a Daolord-level powerhouse? At that time, he could even fight the entire Sacred Universe Alliance and Divine Universe by himself. However, why would the Tyrant Emperor submit? Why would he submit to a mere true self-realm cultivator? Even if I die, I will definitely not submit. I, the Tyrant Emperor, have dominated my entire life. I can only die. I will not submit to anyone. The Tyrant Emperor calmed down and was no longer angry. Perhaps he had lost all hope? He knew that he would not be able to escape death today. Moronyu continued to attack the Tyrant Emperor. Tyrant Emperor, if you choose to possess someone else, perhaps you would have already succeeded in possessing those Daolords who possessed Daolord artifacts. However, you made a mistake by choosing me. Do you know how many people have tried to possess my physical body since I was a mere mortal? How many have tried to possess me? Innumerable people. However, none of them were able to possess me. In the end, I succeeded. Do you know the reason? The tyrant emperor laughed coldly. It's just that you are too sinister. That's right. The tyrant emperor felt that Murong Yu was too sinister. If not for this, he probably would have succeeded in possessing him long ago. Wrong. Very, very wrong. You can see that my body is special. Do you know what my body is? A chaotic celestial body. I am the only one in the world with a chaotic celestial body. Murong Yu directly threw out this shocking news. The tyrant emperor was stunned. Murong Yu took advantage of the opportunity to launch a fierce attack, weakening the tyrant emperor's strength once again. A chaotic celestial body? A chaotic celestial body? The legendary existence that can become the controller of primal chaos? The tyrant emperor was stunned. When Murong Yu had been preparing to reveal the chaotic celestial body, he had been muttering to himself. The tyrant emperor actually knew about the chaotic celestial body? Murong Yu couldn't help but be greatly puzzled. Only people in the sacred world knew about this body. At that time, many people had coveted this body and wanted to possess Murong Yu. However, after Murong Yu entered the astral era, no one knew about this body. Even Forefather Hun of the Spiritas didn't have any memories of the chaotic celestial body. Even the sacred world knew about it. How could the even more powerful existences of the sacred universe not know about it? What was going on? Murong Yu knew that the sacred universe definitely had something special about it. It was so special that it knew something that even the peak experts of the sacred universe didn't know about. You know about the chaotic celestial body? Murong Yu couldn't help but ask in confusion. The tyrant emperor smiled bleakly and actually stopped attacking and defending. Fortunately, Murong Yu had stopped attacking in time. Otherwise, without any defense, the tyrant emperor wouldn't have been able to block his full power attack and would have been killed. Now, Murong Yu didn't want to kill the tyrant emperor. Instead, he wanted to subdue him. He wanted a supreme existence on the level of a Tao ancestor. The chaotic celestial body is the son of primal chaos born from the endless primal chaos. It is the only person qualified to become a chaotic celestial body. Moreover, the chaotic celestial body has the ability to not be possessed. If it is possessed, then the primal chaos will attack and completely destroy it. In front of the endless primal chaos, we are all ants. No one can resist the endless primal chaos, the tyrant emperor said slowly. It cannot be possessed. Even if it was forcefully possessed, it would be destroyed by the endless primal chaos. This was the first time Murong Yu had heard that the chaotic celestial body had such a characteristic. Was it because of this that the tyrant emperor chose to continue possessing? He knew that even if he destroyed Murong Yu's soul, he wouldn't be able to continue possessing. But Tyrant sneered. Although the chaos celestial body cannot be possessed, it is still a chaos celestial body. The chaotic celestial body can't be possessed, but if those experts find out, they will all destroy it. After all, the endless primal chaos is one thing, but none of them will allow someone to ride roughshod over them. Murong Yu nodded. The stronger one was, the more unwilling they were to be restrained by others. Not to mention riding roughshod over them. It's my bad luck to have met you. I can't kill you. Once I leave your soul space, my remnant soul will be devoured by the Tyrant Emperor Palace. Since I'm going to die anyway, just kill me. The Tyrant Emperor looked at Murong Yu and laughed bitterly. You'd rather die than submit to me? You have to know that I will become the master of primal chaos. Murong Yu looked at the Tyrant Emperor gloomily. The Tyrant Emperor looked disdainfully at Murong Yu. Become a master of primal chaos? You have to be able to protect your own life first. The endless primal chaos is too big. There are countless existences stronger than me. You're too weak. The reason why no one has touched you now is because you're still too weak. If your strength increases to a certain level, those existences will sense it. Then, those supreme existences would be able to sense it. When that time comes, you'll be dead for sure. The Tyrant Emperor looked at Murong Yu with a mocking expression, as if he was taking pleasure in his misfortune. Morong Yu was speechless. I know that I'm inferior to a Tao ancestor, but I'm only at the true self realm now. Once I break through to the great Tao realm, even if I'm only at the initial Tao realm, I'll have the power to fight a Tao ancestor. Morong Yu released his true realm with a proud expression. He had the right to be proud. Since the beginning of time, who could compare to him in combat strength? He was only at the true self realm, but his strength was comparable to a peak Tao lord, as expected of the chaotic celestial physique. Your combat strength is heaven-defying. The Tyrant Emperor was stunned by Morong Yu. Tyrant Emperor, if I want to become the master of primal chaos, you'll need to be revived. Why don't you swear loyalty to me? Before I have the combat strength of a Tao ancestor, you'll need to protect me from the shadows, and I'll revive you. What do you think? After pausing for a moment, Morong Yu continued. This is an equivalent exchange. I don't need to control your soul. I just need you to not attack me. You can really revive me? The Tyrant Emperor was a little tempted. After all, no one was willing to die just like that. Moreover, the Tyrant Emperor's strength was monstrous. Morong Yu nodded heavily. Reviving someone was a little difficult, but reviving the Tyrant Emperor was definitely not difficult. In fact, after reviving you, I can even guarantee that your aptitude and talent will improve. Your achievements will be even greater in the future. The Tyrant Emperor didn't speak, and his face revealed hesitation. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Tyrant Emperor, I hope you'll consider it carefully. I don't want to see such a powerful existence like you die just like that. Morong Yu was still trying to persuade the Tyrant Emperor, and with every sentence he said, the Tyrant Emperor would be slightly tempted. Chapter 2248. If you can revive me, I am willing to protect you. However, I will never be loyal to you. After thinking for a while, the tyrant was still unwilling to let go of his dignity as a Tao ancestor and was unwilling to be loyal to Morong Yu. He would never allow Morong Yu to control his soul. Morong Yu frowned slightly. Tyrant, to be honest, I am not familiar with you. Therefore, if you're not willing to be loyal to me or have your soul controlled by me, I will never revive you. Although I do not wish for you to fall, I can only regret it. This was the truth. How terrifying was the tyrant's strength? This was something that everyone could see. Once he was revived, he would definitely be able to sweep through the sacred universe. Or, after the tyrant was revived, he would immediately betray Morong Yu and kill him with a slap. These were all possibilities. In fact, even if the tyrant swore an oath of chaos and was loyal to Morong Yu did not believe it. Morong Yu did not know if the oath of chaos would work. Then kill me. The tyrant was stubborn and would rather die than submit. Morong Yu gritted his teeth. He could not revive such a terrifying enemy for himself. Therefore, he decided to kill the tyrant. Although it was a pity, it was better than letting the tyrant live. At least if the tyrant died, he would not have such a huge threat. Just as Morong Yu was about to attack, Hichu's voice suddenly rang in his mind. Wait, you can revive the tyrant, and you don't need him to be loyal to you. Morong Yu's heart skipped a beat, and he immediately stopped attacking. He asked, what's going on? If I'm not wrong, you want to use the soul spiritual fruit to revive the tyrant? Do you know how the soul spiritual fruit is formed? Morong Yu did not answer his question. Morong Yu nodded. There were a total of 9 soul spiritual fruits. They were originally formed from the 9 lotuses in his body. They were still hanging on the tree of life like ginseng fruits. Previously, he had used a few to revive Morong Yu and the others, but he had not used all of them. The soul spiritual fruit is equivalent to a part of your body. If you use it to revive the Tyrant Emperor, as long as you are willing, even if you can't refine the Tyrant Emperor into your doppelganger, you can still use it. However, the Overlord will definitely not harm you. Hichu continued. Just like Morong Yu and the others, after Morong Yu used the Spirit Soul Fruit to revive, the feeling was even stronger than that of blood being thicker than water. However, they were his children and women after all. Morong Yu had never thought of controlling them. However, he had a feeling that if he wanted to control Morong Yu and the others, it should be easy. If he wanted to, he could even control the actions of Murong, and the others. Therefore, if the tyrant was resurrected using this method, he would definitely not resist him. In fact, he could even subtly influence the tyrant and make him his most loyal subordinate. Tyrant, I have a way to revive you. Even if you don't want to be loyal, you have to protect Shenzhen and even me. Of course, once I have the strength of a Tao ancestor, you can regain your freedom. Murong Yu held back the joy in his heart as he looked at the tyrant emperor. You can really revive me? The tyrant emperor was pleasantly surprised. Murong Yu nodded. Good. The tyrant emperor, swear in the name of the primal chaos. If Murong Yu revives me, I will protect Murong Yu and his forces. I will definitely not betray him. Otherwise, I will be completely annihilated. The tyrant emperor immediately swore the primal chaos oath. Whoosh! Right after he swore, Murong Yu felt a mysterious force enter the tyrant emperor's remnant soul. However, the tyrant emperor did not seem to notice. Is that the power of the primal chaos oath? Murong Yu was shocked. If the primal chaos oath was really effective, and the tyrant emperor did not abide by the oath, would he be killed by the primal chaos oath? Immediately, Murong Yu took out a soul spiritual fruit and handed it to the tyrant emperor. This is a soul spiritual fruit. As long as you have a trace of your soul, it can revive you. I was keeping it for myself, but now I'm using it to revive you. The tyrant emperor was shocked and in disbelief. You're giving such a precious treasure to me, just like that? Is your enemy very powerful? The tyrant emperor asked doubtfully. Murong Yu nodded. If what you said is right, I will be targeted by even more Tao ancestor powerhouses. You also know that my current strength is far from a Tao ancestor's. So, I can only rely on you. Murong Yu was not lying about this. After seeing the strength of a Tao ancestor, he knew that he was far from a Tao ancestor's match. So, he needed a Tao ancestor powerhouse to deter other powerhouses. And the tyrant emperor was the best candidate. Although there were even more powerhouses stronger than the tyrant emperor, he was not that miserable, right? To encounter an existence of that level right from the start, as long as he was given enough time, he could reach the combat strength of a Tao ancestor. At that time, who would dare to touch him? All right, I will definitely keep my promise, the tyrant emperor said solemnly. He might not be a good person, and he had killed many people in his life, but he was definitely someone who followed his words. Under Murong Yu's guidance, the tyrant emperor fused his entire soul into the soul spiritual fruit. Immediately, Murong Yu saw that under the effect of the soul spiritual fruit, the tyrant emperor's soul became stronger and stronger. The soul that was originally lost was also slowly replenished. As time passed, his soul became more and more complete. As long as there was enough time, the tyrant emperor's soul would completely recover. Time acceleration. Murong Yu and the tyrant emperor both entered the Hichu Luo Shu. Before the tyrant emperor recovered his soul, he had already left Murong Yu's soul space and removed the seal on Murong Yu at the same time. Instantly, in the instant that the universe shattered, billions of years had already passed in the Hichu Luo Shu. A few days had passed in the outside world, but a few eras had passed in the Hichu Luo Shu. At this time, the tyrant emperor's soul had already recovered to 80% and was about to fully recover. Oh no, Murong Yu, the soul spiritual fruit's power is not enough. On this day, the tyrant emperor suddenly exclaimed. The soul spiritual fruit was very magical. It could actually repair the soul. Murong Yu also did not understand why the soul spiritual fruit had such an ability. However, the reason why the soul spiritual fruit could repair the soul was not only because it had the ability to repair, but also because it contained an extremely large amount of soul energy. Perhaps the tyrant emperor's soul was too strong, but the soul energy contained in the soul spiritual fruit was actually unable to completely recover him. This made the tyrant emperor feel somewhat regretful. In reality, although the tyrant emperor's soul had only recovered to 80%, it was no longer a big problem. However, it was no longer a big problem. As long as he could seize a physical body, he could slowly recover in the future. However, it would take an extremely long time. No need to panic. Continue to repair. I will replenish the soul energy. Moronyu said lightly. Instantly, the 10,000 soul balls started to vibrate rapidly. Waves after waves of soul energy entered the tyrant's soul, lending him a helping hand. Another 2 eras passed. On this day, as the tyrant emperor's body trembled, the soul's spiritual fruit immediately turned into a ray of light and entered his body. I've finally fully recovered. Although I don't have a physical body, I can at least use 50% of my original strength. The tyrant emperor laughed heartily and was incomparably happy. He directly ignored Moronyu, who was standing at the side. Moronyu frowned slightly, but did not say anything. He only looked at the tyrant emperor indifferently. If the tyrant emperor dared to break his promise, the consequences would be very severe. The tyrant emperor suddenly saw Morongyu's displeased face and was suddenly shocked. He immediately stopped laughing and came in front of Moronyu. Moronyu, don't worry. The tyrant emperor, will never forget your great kindness in reviving me. Although I'm not a good person, I will definitely abide by my promise. Moreover, you have given me a new lease of life. This debt of gratitude, I will definitely repay it in the future. The tyrant emperor said solemnly. Moronyu nodded. The tyrant emperor had better be like this. Otherwise, he would make the tyrant emperor regret it. There are only 9 soul spiritual fruits in total. He would not allow himself to waste them. Now, go and control the tyrant emperor's palace again. Then we will go and find a suitable physical body for you. It is too easy to die in a spiritual state. The tyrant emperor nodded and immediately grabbed the tyrant emperor's palace. Bastard, you want to devour me when I am weak? If you don't surrender now, when will you? Seeing the tyrant emperor's palace, the tyrant emperor could not help but fly into a rage and immediately began to refine it. However, he could not refine the tyrant emperor's palace before, what more now? Therefore, he could only temporarily control the tyrant emperor's palace. If his soul was damaged again, he would be devoured by the tyrant emperor's palace again. Let's go. I will help you become the leader of the Sacred Universe Alliance. Then, we will repel the invasion of the Divine Universe. After temporarily controlling the tyrant emperor's palace, the tyrant emperor was ready to go all out. Moronyu rolled his eyes. Do you think there are no Tao ancestors in the sacred and divine universes? If you dare to appear, I can guarantee that you will be hunted down by Tao ancestors. In your current state, the tyrant emperor was instantly depressed. Even though he'd always crushed all the Tao lords he faced, he still flashed through them in a crushing manner. Every Tao ancestor could easily crush any Tao master. Moreover, he could only use 50% of his peak strength. If he encountered a Tao ancestor now, he would definitely suffer. Now, we have to keep a low profile and find a suitable physical body for you. Or do you want to condense one yourself? The tyrant emperor shook his head. Let's find a physical body first. If I condense one myself, the price is too great and the time required is too long. The tyrant emperor had lost his physical body long ago. Although he could condense one at any time, a newly condensed one would be too weak and would require an extremely long time to unleash his current strength. If he wanted to reach his peak strength, he would need even more time. This was different from a physical body that had been destroyed. A physical body that had been destroyed actually still existed. It was just that it had been reduced to dust and scattered in the surrounding void. Therefore, after a physical body was reformed, it would at most lose some strength. The physical body would still be its original physical body. Chapter 2249. Shattered Universe, Sacred Universe Army, Shenzhen Main Army Tent. Murong Xian, Zhang Ao, and the other higher-ups of Shenzhen stood on both sides of the tent, looking angrily at the Alliance emissary sitting on the main seat. This seat belonged to Moronyu, and only he had the right to sit there. But now, he was being sat there by the arrogant emissary. Murong Xian and the others were furious. They wanted nothing more than to kill the arrogant alliance emissary with a punch. But they didn't dare to make any moves. After all, the other party was an emissary of the Sacred Universe Alliance. As the saying went, a higher official could crush someone to death. Now, there had been no news of Murong for a month. Also, the Myriad Palace Master had died. In the end, the matter of him entering the tyrannical Emperor's palace could not be concealed and was exposed. The Sacred Universe and Divine Universe suffered heavy losses. Even the Sacred Universe Alliance deputy leader, who had a Dao ancestor weapon, was severely injured. The other great Dao realm powerhouses were also killed or injured. In a month, the Alliance had sent a large number of powerhouses again. And forces like the Myriad Palace and Shenzhen, whose masters had died or were suspected to have died, were all taken in. The Myriad Palace was taken in by the Alliance emissary, Zhao Gao. Shenzhen originally belonged to the Myriad Palace, so he was directly taken in by Zhao Gao. Zhao Gao was the Alliance emissary who had gone to Shenzhen back then. He had always been on bad terms with Murong. Later on, he even wanted to use the 100 Battles sect to kill Shenzhen. Unfortunately, he failed. Unexpectedly, this guy also came to the battlefield. What? You dare to disobey a military order? A military order is like a mountain. Those who disobey will be killed. Do you want me to give the order to kill 1 billion people in Shenzhen? Zhao Gao sat on the main seat and looked at Murong Xian and the others with a mocking expression. At this moment, he was very proud. Wasn't Shenzhen very impressive? Wasn't he still in his control now? He only needed to say a word, and he could kill Shenzhen and the others. However, what made him feel regretful was that Murong wasn't here. Otherwise, he would really want to see Murong expression and kill Murong himself. However, Murong had already died, which made him feel that it was a pity. Zhao Gao, you want us to attack the Divine Universe army? You clearly want us to die. Besides, both sides are now in a ceasefire. You're only a small team leader. What right do you have to order us around? Finally, Murong could not help but bellow. After being accepted, the first thing Zhao Gao did was to lead the Sage Sect to attack the Divine Universe army. The Sage Sect was weak to begin with. If they went to attack the Divine Universe army, wouldn't they be sending them to their deaths? Looking at Murong, Zhao Gao's eyes flashed with cold, murderous intent. He said coldly, Murong, remember, trouble comes from the mouth. It's fine if you don't respect me, the captain, but you dare to disobey a military order? What do you mean you're going to die? I have the authority to send my men to fight. Everyone was furious. This was clearly a personal vendetta. Besides, God's universe has suffered heavy losses. If we catch them off guard, we might be able to beat them back. At that time, all of you will be rewarded greatly by the Alliance for your contributions. Murong Xian and the others were about to explode from anger. Even if God's universe had suffered heavy losses, Shenzhen Sect's 1 billion people rushing over wouldn't even be enough for a slap. Zhao Gao, you're clearly using your position to avenge your personal vendetta. Our Shenzhen Sect will never send out troops. I must report this matter to the higher-ups. Zhang Ao suppressed the anger in his heart and said in a cold voice. Zhao Gao's face was extremely cold. His eyes flashed with a terrifying cold light as he looked at everyone. After a long time, he said coldly, Very well, I'll tell you the truth. I'm going to play you to death. Not just your 1 billion people, but even the entire Chaos Shenzhen Sect will be destroyed. Today, I'll say some harsh words. I'll only give you 1 day. If you don't send out troops in 1 day, you can all wait to be killed. Also, I welcome you to do it. With your lowly status, I'd like to see what you can do. Everyone's hearts sank. Zhao Gao was telling the truth. People above the level of captain were not people they could get close to. With Zhao Gao's power in the Alliance, he could just find an excuse to kill all of Shenzhen Sect's people. You're going too far. Murong Xian's teeth were about to shatter. However, he still forced himself to endure. Because he knew Murong was not dead. Endure. He must endure. As long as Murong came back, everything would be easy. Inhichu Luoshu. Murong, this is your power? You're being bullied by that guy. Why don't you go out and slap that bastard to death? In fact, Murongyu had already returned a long time ago and happened to see Zhao Gao bullying others. Murongyu was obviously unhappy and wanted to slap Zhao Gao to death. However, now was not the time. Zhao Gao had to be killed, but now was not the time. However, for the sake of his boss, Zhao Gaocheng had made it clear that he was sending the sage sect to their deaths. This matter had to be resolved. Something's wrong. Murongyu, I don't want this person. I want to take over his body. The tyrant suddenly roared. At the same time, he became restless and wanted to attack. Murongyu was shocked. He hurriedly held the tyrant back. This is the Sacred Cosmos Alliance's army. Do you want to be hunted down by the Tao ancestors of the Sacred Cosmos Alliance? The tyrant immediately became well-behaved. However, he still couldn't forget about Zhao Gao's body. No matter what, I must possess his body. Murongyu rolled his eyes. Zhao Gao was just ordinary. There was nothing special about the physical body of a Tao Lord. What was he going to do with it? His original intention was to find the fleshly body of a peak Tao Lord for the tyrant to possess. Zhao Gao's body is not ordinary, although it is far inferior to your chaos celestial body. However, it was still the body of the war god. It was just that idiot who didn't know how valuable it was. If my constitution was the body of the war god, I wouldn't have died. Furthermore, I'm afraid he's already reached a whole new level. The tyrant emperor chuckled coldly. Body of the war god? Murongyu couldn't tell that Zhao Gao had a special constitution at all. My previous body was just an ordinary constitution. However, I tempered it until it was abnormally strong, so I didn't possess it. However, now I'm going to possess a body with a special constitution. In addition, after this resurrection, my aptitude and talent have improved. I'll definitely break through to the highest realm in the future. The tyrant emperor laughed loudly. Murongyu was speechless. Tyrant emperor, I'm warning you. Don't do anything rash. Otherwise, you'll be hunted down by the Tao ancestors. The consequences will be dire. Murongyu glared at the tyrant emperor. Then, he took a step forward and appeared in the tent. Sacred Lord. Seeing Murongyu appear out of thin air, Murongxian and the others were shocked. They thought that Zhao Gao had returned. However, when they saw Murongyu, they all cried out in alarm. Murongyu nodded. I saw what happened just now. You don't have to pay attention to that, Zhao Gao. How dare he use his position to avenge a private grudge? He's done for. Murderous intent surged. Murongyu wanted to kill Zhao Gao. However, his status is higher than ours now. Shenzhen might not be his match, Duan Muqing said worriedly. Murongyu waved his hand. Zhao Gao can't do anything to us. You don't have to worry. Do what you need to do. With Patriarch Hanyi's clone, how many people in the Sacred Universe Alliance could compare to him in terms of power? If he wanted to, he only needed to say a single word, and Zhao Gao's body would be smashed into pieces. However, Murongyu didn't want to use Patriarch Han-Yi for now. He needed to deal with Zhao Gao himself. Moreover, the Tyrant Emperor wanted to possess Zhao Gao's body. Kidnap Zhao Gao directly? That was a good idea. It could solve all the hidden dangers. However, Zhao Gao wasn't just a captain. He was also an alliance envoy. If he didn't have a powerful backer, he wouldn't have been able to sit in these two positions as a Tao Lord. If Zhao Gao went missing, it would probably arouse the vigilance of the faction behind him. In that case, this method would not work. A day passed quickly. Because Murongyu returned to take charge of the situation, Shenzhen didn't do anything at all. The next morning, Zhao Gao didn't come. However, Murongxian and the others felt like the calm before the storm. Finally, on the afternoon of the second day, Zhao Gao brought a group of experts over arrogantly. As soon as they arrived, those Dao realm experts surrounded Shenzhen's camp. Floating in the void, Zhao Gao revealed a cold smile on his face. According to the investigation, Shenzhen colluded with the divine universe and betrayed our intelligence. Shenzhen and the others are traitors of our sacred universe. They are our shame. We must be ruthless when dealing with traitors. Now, the Alliance has ordered us to kill all the traitors of Shenzhen. Not a single one will be left. At the same time, apart from Shenzhen and the 1 billion people, the entire Shenzhen will be uprooted as a warning to others. Although Zhao Gao's voice wasn't loud, with his support, it practically reverberated throughout the entire Sacred Universe army. Almost everyone heard what he said. What? Shenzhen colluded with the enemy? How is that possible? Murong Yu killed more than a dozen Dao realm experts of the divine universe that day. Some people didn't believe it all. Perhaps that's the evidence? That's something that Murong Yu and the divine universe agreed on together in order to gain our trust? Actually, those people deliberately died in Murong Yu's hands? Otherwise, how could a true self-realm cultivator resist 30 to 40 Dao realm experts head-on? Moreover, he killed a great Dao realm expert. Immediately, someone questioned, Shenzhen is finished. Everyone hurried over to Shenzhen's side to join in the fun. And at this moment, Zhao Gao waved his hand and was about to kill Shenzhen and the 1 billion people. He didn't give Shenzhen a chance to explain at all. In truth, even if Shenzhen tried to explain, it would be useless. Zhao Gao had already decided to kill Shenzhen. Chapter 2250. Zhao Gao, you're using your position to avenge private grudges. When did I, Shenzhen, collude with the divine universe and betray the sacred universe? Don't slander me and frame me, Shenzhen. Everything needs evidence. Where's the evidence? Zhang Ao suddenly roared, his voice filled with endless fury. It could even burn the 9 heavens. Zhao Gao sneered. Evidence? This is an order from the big shots of the Alliance. Do we still need an order? Yesterday, you refused to send troops to attack the divine universe. Isn't this evidence? Yesterday, we were actually testing you. If you didn't collude with the divine universe, why didn't you send troops? Zhao Gao, you idiot. Don't think that just because your father is an elder of the Alliance, you can do whatever you want in the Alliance. You're not the only elder in the Alliance. Above the elders are the Deputy Alliance Master and the Alliance Master. It's not your turn to do whatever you want. You want us to attack the divine universe where there are so many godly experts? You're obviously sending Shenzhen to his death. Test your head. If you're so capable, you could try getting close to the divine universe's military camp. Murong Yuxian soared into the air and stood at the same height as Zhao Gao. He then scolded Zhao Gao. So that was the case. Hearing Zhang Ao and Murong Yuxian scolding, the people who rushed over understood what was going on. At least, they were sure that Murong Yu didn't collude with the enemy. Instead, it was Zhao Gao who wanted to kill Shenzhen on purpose. He actually offended the people of the Alliance Elder. He really doesn't know what's good for him. Some people who didn't like Shenzhen immediately said in disdain. Some people were very impressed. He wasn't even afraid of offending the elders. Shenzhen's people really had a backbone. On the contrary, many people looked down on Zhao Gao. They all felt that this idiot was just relying on his father, who was an elder of the Alliance. If it wasn't for this, he would be nothing. You're still quibbling? Kill them. At this moment, Zhao Gao suddenly roared angrily. Instantly, the thousands of great Dao realm experts that Zhao Gao brought were about to attack. If they attacked with all their strength, Shenzhen would definitely not be able to withstand it. In the blink of an eye, Shenzhen and the others would be completely wiped out. Even the entire Shenzhen would be uprooted by Zhao Gao. Of course, all of this was under the condition that Murong Yu was not present. Now, that Murong Yu had returned, how could he be afraid of Zhao Gao? Hold on. A loud shout rang out as Murong Yu finally appeared out of thin air in front of Zhao Gao. He looked at Zhao Gao with an indifferent expression. Zhao Gao, you're really capable. You want to deal with my people while I'm away? Could it be that you're still not scared of being beaten up? Back then, you were beaten up by me in Shenzhen, and then you manipulated the 100 Battles sect to destroy me, Shenzhen. Now, you're threatening me with your power. What's the meaning of this? The moment he saw Murong Yu, Zhao Gao's expression changed. Murong Yu, you're not dead yet? Murong Yu sneered. Your entire family is dead, but I'm not. Hurry up and scram. Zhao Gao's expression turned grim and murderous. It's even better that you're not dead. Men, kill Murong Yu as well. How dare you collude with the enemy universe? You're simply courting death. Before Zhao Gao finished speaking, his subordinates were about to make a move. Murong glanced at them indifferently. Who dares to make a move? Perhaps it was because Murong Yu's battle back then had shocked many people. But after being glanced at by Murong Yu, those great Dao realm experts only felt a chill in their hearts. But no one dared to make a move. Seeing this, Zhao Gao couldn't help but feel furious. However, he was only a low-level Dao Lord, and was even less of a match for Murong Yu. Therefore, no matter how arrogant he was, he didn't dare to directly attack Murong Yu. A bunch of trash. Murong Yu openly disobeyed orders. Why aren't you killing him? This is an order issued by the Grand Marshal. Who dares to disobey? Zhao Gao took a step back and waved his hand. An order paper appeared in front of everyone. There weren't many orders, only a few words. It said that Shenzhen colluded with the enemy and wanted to be killed. On the other hand, Grand Marshal Zhao Su's name was written all over his orders. Zhao Su was Zhao Gao's father, an elder-level existence in the Sacred Universe Alliance. He was now the Grand Marshal of the Sacred Universe Alliance's army. Here, he could be said to be able to cover the sky with one hand. You father and son colluded to kill me, Shenzhen? You're not qualified. Murong Yu wasn't afraid of Zhao Su at all. Moreover, this Zhao Su was really despicable. He looked down on him. He actually dared to disobey the Grand Marshal's orders? He was really courageous. However, I want to see how you're going to deal with this. Murong Yu's performance left everyone dumbfounded. However, they were even more curious. In the end, would Murong Yu be able to go against the Grand Marshal? Would an elder-level existence be able to do anything to Murong Yu? However, many people felt that Murong Yu wouldn't be able to shake the big tree that was Zhao Su. It's already come to this. Why aren't you killing that bastard? In the Hichu Luo Shu, the tyrant couldn't help but attack. With his current strength, he wasn't afraid of Zhao Su at all. However, he was still suppressed by Murong Yu. Now wasn't the time. There was still an elder-level Zhao Su behind Zhao Gao. If he killed Zhao Gao, Zhao Su wouldn't let him go. Zhao Su alone wasn't enough to catch Murong Yu's attention. However, he was still an elder of the Sacred Universe Alliance. The Sacred Universe Alliance would definitely interfere. You still want to endure? I can't hold it in any longer. The tyrant was anxious. It wasn't that he was a murderous maniac, but that he couldn't take over Zhao Gao's body, even though he had the body of the war god. How could he not be anxious? You pieces of trash, you don't even listen to the Grand Marshal's orders? Why aren't you attacking? Seeing that the great Dao realm powerhouses he brought didn't dare to attack Murong Yu, Zhao Gao was furious and cursed loudly. A portion of those great Dao realm powerhouses were powerhouses from the faction that Zhao Gao belonged to. A large portion of them were subordinates of the Myriad Palace. After Dong Zhu died, the Myriad Palace, including the factions that the Myriad Palace ruled previously, naturally became Zhao Gao's subordinates. Kill. Finally, a great Dao realm powerhouse attacked. With a roar, he threw a punch at Murong Yu from afar. Seeing that someone finally attacked, the others also attacked. As the saying went, there was strength in numbers. Murong Yu was strong, but how could he be a match for them? Ha! Just as they attacked, Murong Yu also made his move. Murong Yu only took a step forward, and then a crisp sound rang out. Zhao Gao's cheeks were swollen, and he looked at Murong Yu furiously. There were even traces of blood at the corners of his mouth. As it turned out, he had been slapped hard by Murong Yu. Shenzhen won't give in. It doesn't matter if you're a small team leader, your father is the Grand Marshal, or an alliance elder. Murong Yu, am an upright person. I definitely won't give in to the tyrannical power of you father and son. In the end, I still believe that there's still justice in this world. Murong Yu suddenly roared. Instantly, the entire military camp heard his sorrowful and indignant words. Kill. Don't leave a single one alive. Zhao Gao was enraged. He was the first to attack, directly attacking Murong Yu. Murong Yu smiled coldly. He took a step forward and charged toward Zhao Gao again. However, this time around, the people around Zhao Gao were all prepared. Just as Murong Yu made his move, a few great Dao Realm experts had already made their moves. They attacked Murong Yu from both sides. You guys are too weak. Murong Yu sneered. With a sway of his body, he had already dodged the attacks of the two people, and he had already appeared in front of Zhao Gao. Murong reached out with his big hand, and Zhao Gao instantly let out a muffled groan. He had been grabbed by the neck by Murong, and he was lifted up like a little chick. I'd like to see who dares to make a move. If you want Zhao Gao to die, go ahead. Murong lifted Zhao Gao, and his voice was cold and filled with killing intent. Zhao Gao and the others finally retracted their power out of fear of hurting Murong. Murong, you're dead meat. You're definitely going to die. Zhao Gao no longer acted as cowardly as he did when he was in Shenzhen. Perhaps he felt that his father was in the military camp, that he feared no one. Before Zhao Gao could finish his words, Murong had already slapped him across the mouth. Zhao Gao's mouth and the lower half of his face were smashed to smithereens. Seeing this scene, the overlord and Hichu Luoshu immediately shouted out in pain, Murong, be careful. Don't destroy my physical body. I hate idiots the most, and you're too idiotic. Murong looked at Zhao Gao as if he was looking at an idiot. However, Zhao Gao became increasingly furious. Murong, you'd better not land in my hands. Otherwise, I'll make you suffer a fate worse than death. I, Zhao Gao, am a man of my words. Zhao Gao bellowed furiously, and his expression was extremely savage. Moreover, at the end of his sentence, Zhao Gao revealed a hint of joy. Let go of Zhao Gao. A dignified voice rang out. At the same time, a tall figure appeared before Murong out of thin air. Like a vast sea of energy, Murong was drowned in an instant. How dare you show off your energy in front of me? You're overestimating yourself. In Hichu Luoshu, the overlord sneered disdainfully. Take it all. Therefore, although Zhao Su's energy drowned Murong, it was unable to do anything to him. However, they couldn't do anything to Murong. They couldn't even touch the corner of his clothes. You're Zhao Su, the elder of the alliance? As the saying goes, like father, like son. Zhao Gao is only using his position to avenge a personal grudge, but you're following him without any reason? I don't think you're suitable to be an elder of the alliance. Resign yourself. Looking at Zhao Su, Murong was not afraid at all. Hiss! Hearing Murong's words, the surrounding people couldn't help but gasp. Wasn't Murong too arrogant? Zhao Su was the Grand Marshal and an elder of the alliance. How dare he remove him from his position as an elder? Zhao Su's face immediately turned as black as the bottom of a pot. A terrifying, murderous aura spread out and enveloped Murong. Murong, you betrayed the sacred universe and even insulted me, the Grand Marshal of the three armies and an elder of the alliance. I'll sentence you to death right now. Zhao Su shouted coldly. He took a step forward and reached out his hand, grabbing Murong in the air. Murong's eyes flashed coldly. He didn't expect Zhao Su to attack him in public and kill him. Chapter 2251. You father and son are really in cahoots. If you can't frame me, you want to kill me. I will definitely report this matter. Everyone can testify for me today. Seeing Zhao Su attacking, Murong didn't have a trace of fear on his face. On the contrary, he was very calm and didn't seem to be afraid at all. Zhao Su's eyes flashed with murderous intent. Murong repeatedly challenged his authority, and he couldn't bear it anymore. Moreover, although Murong's combat strength was heaven-defying and his potential was huge, but in the army camp, he had the power to kill him. This was his ability as the marshal of the three armies and an alliance elder. In a flash, Zhao Su's attack was about to land on Murong. If Murong were to be hit by his fist, he'd definitely die. At this moment, a token suddenly appeared between Murong and Zhao Su. Deputy Alliance Leader Token. When he saw the token, Zhao Su couldn't help but exclaim. At the same time, his hand movements stopped abruptly. Murong had a backer who was at the Deputy Alliance Leader level. In the Alliance, the gap between an elder and a Deputy Alliance Leader was huge. Whether in terms of personal strength or influence, the elder was far inferior to the Deputy Alliance Leader. Otherwise, the elder would be at the deputy alliance leader level. It could be said that the elder couldn't be compared to the deputy alliance leader at all. If Murong Yu was the deputy alliance leader's man, then Zhao Su would kill him. Then, what awaited him might be death. After all, the sacred universe was so big, and there were only a few elders. Many people coveted this position. Moreover, Zhao Su also found that the deputy alliance leader wasn't an ordinary one. Honey, the deputy alliance leader of the Soul Clan and the alliance leader of the Sacred Universe Alliance was also an ancestor of the Soul Clan. It was said that he was at the Tao ancestor realm. It could be said that the Soul Clan was already the strongest race in the Sacred Universe. You're from the Soul Clan? Zhao Su looked at Murong Yu with an ugly expression. Murong Yu smiled non-committally. Do you think you can save Zhao Gao, this trash, from my hands? Hee, if you hadn't stopped in time, the one who would have died wouldn't have been me, but Zhao Gao. Do you want to see what my soul race is capable of? Zhao Su's face became more and more unsightly. Murong Yu was a member of the soul race, so this matter was difficult to handle. At least on the surface, he did not dare to do anything to Murong Yu. Furthermore, after this incident, he still had to protect Murong Yu. Otherwise, if something happened to Murong Yu, would Han Yi blame him? This was very likely, although the positions in the alliance were clear now. But at the end of the day, the world still depended on one's fists. The bigger the fist, the louder the voice. So, he's actually an expert from the soul race. He has the Vice Alliance Master backing him up. No wonder he dares to go against the Grand Marshal. At this moment, everyone finally knew where Murong Yu's courage came from. If it were them, they would also dare to be so arrogant. However, little did they know that Murong Yu had originally not planned on using forefather Han Yi as a clone. But Zhao Su had actually shamelessly attacked him in public, forcing him to use his status as the Vice Alliance Master to suppress him. In fact, Murong Yu could have let the tyrant do it without using his status as the Vice Alliance Master. However, that would have had a greater impact. Grand Marshal Zhao, I am a member of the Soul Race. My roots are in the Sacred Universe. I would like to ask, am I a traitor of the Sacred Universe? Colluding with the Divine Universe? Murong Yu looked at Zhao Su's ugly expression with a mocking smile. Zhao Su laughed. How is that possible? You weren't a traitor of the Sacred Universe to begin with. Zhao Gao, that little bastard, must have made a mistake. Murong Yu, please be magnanimous and let Zhao Gao go. I'll definitely teach him a lesson when we get back. Murong Yu smiled and nodded slightly, as if very satisfied with Zhao Su's reaction. However, his expression quickly changed. Grand Marshal Zhao, are we just going to let this matter go like this? I was almost killed by you and your father. Also, my faction was almost completely razed to the ground. Right now, I'm very hurt. Aren't you going to soothe my wounded soul? Zhao Su's heart skipped a beat. Murong Yu was going to retaliate. Immediately, he smiled and said, I will definitely make you satisfied with this matter. Before Zhao Su could finish, Murong Yu interrupted him. I'm really hurt. If you don't have a Tao treasure or a Tao treasure, I'm afraid you won't be able to soothe my wounded soul. A Tao treasure? Upon hearing Murong Yu's words, the surrounding people were stunned. Murong Yu was openly asking Zhao Su to give him a Tao treasure. However, Zhao Su didn't dare to not give it to him, even if he knew how to do things. As expected, when he heard Murong Yu's words, the muscles on Zhao Su's face began to twitch violently. A terrifying, murderous intent flashed in the depths of his eyes. Do you think Tao treasures are common goods that you can get whenever you want? Zhao Su gritted his teeth and wished he could slap Murong Yu to death. Not to mention one Tao treasure. He could even take out several Tao treasures. However, that was because he was the master of superfaction. He only had a few Tao treasures. He was the kind of person who had one less Tao treasure. Even he wasn't generous enough to give Murong Yu one. I've wanted a Tao treasure of the Tao master level for a long time. I believe Grand Marshal Zhao should be able to give me one, right? While Zhao Su was gnashing his teeth, Murong Yu's words caused him to vomit blood. A Tao master level Tao treasure. The hearts of the people around trembled. They felt that Murong Yu was really too ruthless. However, some people also felt that Murong Yu wasn't going too far. After all, if he had a backer, he and his entire faction would have been annihilated by now. Huh, if it can soothe your wounded soul, how about I give you this Dao Master-level Dao treasure? Zhao Su laughed loudly and made a grabbing motion in the void. In the next moment, a Dao Master-level Dao treasure appeared in his hand. The Dao treasure flickered with a powerful aura. It was definitely a Dao Master-level Dao treasure. Thank you so much, Grand Marshal Zhao. I didn't expect you to be so generous. I hope we can communicate more in the future. Murong Yu laughed loudly and put away the Dao treasure. Zhao Su's heart was bleeding. He gritted his teeth and said, "Of course, we will definitely have a good talk." Murderous intent surged in his heart. "Little bastard, one day you will be killed by me." As he spoke, Zhao Su looked at Murong Yu. His meaning was obvious. He wanted Murong Yu to let Zhao Gao go. Oh, I forgot about that. However, Zhao Gao actually framed me. His intentions are hateful. Seeing that Grand Marshal Zhao is so sincere, I won't be so calculative. However, Grand Marshal Zhao is so forgetful. Today, I will punish Zhao Gao on your behalf. As he spoke, Murong Yu slapped Zhao Gao. Zhao Gao immediately screamed like a pig being slaughtered. Then his entire body withered. Zhao Su's eyes flashed with terrifying murderous intent. "You crippled him?" Murong Yu immediately looked embarrassed. "I just wanted to beat him up, but I didn't expect to use too much strength. Please forgive me, Grand Marshal Zhao." As he spoke, Murong Yu had already thrown Zhao Gao over. Looking at his expression, how was he embarrassed? Moreover, everyone knew that Murong Yu had crippled Zhao Gao on purpose. It wasn't an accident. Oomph. Zhao Su glared fiercely at Murong Yu, then grabbed Zhao Gao and disappeared in a flash. He left just like that. Holy Lord, are you going to let that bastard Zhao Gao go just like that? You should have slapped him to death. Zhang Ao flew over and said unwillingly, "That's right. Cripple him. With Zhao Su's ability, he will soon recover to his peak strength. Right?" Duamu Qing also walked over. Murong Yu smiled faintly. Zhao Gao can only be a cripple for the rest of his life. Zhang Ao and the others looked at each other and hurriedly asked. However, Murong Yu only smiled and didn't answer. On the other side, "Father, I must kill that bastard Murong Yu. How dare he cripple me? I must kill him with my own hands." Zhao Gao's face was ferocious and his voice was filled with hatred. "He will definitely die." Zhao Su's face was cold and murderous. Murong Yu was already on his list of people he must kill. How dare he threaten him? He was simply courting death. However, what he needed to do now was to restore Zhao Gao's cultivation. However, his expression soon changed. Zhao Gao's meridians had been completely destroyed. Moreover, there was an extremely powerful force lying dormant in his body. Once Zhao Su began to restore Zhao Gao's body, that force would destroy it. There was no way to restore it. Zhao Su also discovered that the force was countless times stronger than his. In other words, he couldn't expel that force from Zhao Gao's body at all. What? I won't be able to restore my cultivation for the rest of my life? Zhao Gao didn't feel anything when Murong Yu crippled him, because he felt that even if he was crippled, his father could restore him to his peak. However, he was roaring in disbelief now. "There's a force in your body that's much stronger than mine that's preventing me from restoring your body. With my strength, I can't expel it at all," Zhao Su said in a low voice. "Father, you're peak Dao Lord. How can you not be able to expel it? How can that bastard Murong Yu be so powerful?" Zhao Gao roared. He couldn't accept the fact that he had become a cripple. "If I'm not wrong, the force in your body is at least at the level of a Dao Lord. Only an expert at the level of a Dao Lord can expel it. Don't worry, I'll definitely ask the Alliance Master to help you expel it." Zhao Su's killing intent spread. "Dao Lord?" Zhao Gao was stunned. However, he still couldn't believe it. "How can that bastard Murong Yu have the strength of a Dao Lord? You must be mistaken. Father, take me to the Alliance Master immediately. I don't want to become a cripple." Chapter 2252. You're a piece of trash. It wasn't easy for me to get you an alliance emissary. Now, not only did I not get any benefits, I even got myself into trouble. Why didn't you investigate the other party's identity before making a move? You'll get me killed sooner or later. Zhao Su suddenly flew into a rage, cursing at Zhao Gao. Zhao Gao was also angry. I attacked Morong Yu. Didn't I get your permission? If I'm a piece of trash, then you're a piece of trash too. Slap. Zhao Su flew into a rage and slapped Zhao Gao hard, almost killing him on the spot. What kind of show is this father and son playing? In Shengzhen's camp, Morong Yu and the tyrant looked at each other. In the void in front of them, the movements of Zhao Su and his son were clearly displayed. It was practically a live broadcast. It turned out that it was the tyrant who made a move. He was the only one who could render Zhao Su helpless. Moreover, the tyrant's power was still gradually controlling Zhao Gao's body. Even if he did nothing, as long as this continued, Zhao Gao would be successfully possessed by him sooner or later. Bastard, don't smash my body to smithereens. Otherwise, I'll slap him to death. After a while, the tyrant felt a little heartache. This was because he had long regarded Zhao Gao's physical body as his. Now, Zhao Su was hitting Zhao Gao, but in reality, it was as if he was hitting the tyrant. Don't worry, Zhao Su only has one son. He won't do anything to his son, and he'll leave the broken universe soon. Morong Yu was very calm. Kid, you're quite the prophet. They're really leaving. Let's go, we'll catch up. This time, we must get rid of them all. The tyrant chuckled, about to urge Morong Yu to follow. It turned out that this was a scheme of the two of them. They purposely crippled Zhao Gao, leaving Dao ancestor-level power in him. This way, Zhao Su couldn't resolve it at all, so he could only ask the alliance leader for help. And as long as he left the camp, it would be the tyrant and Morong Yu's chance. As expected, Morong Yu's guess was right. Zhao Su didn't stop at all, and soon left the camp. He and the tyrant immediately chased after him. Tyrant, Zhao Su may be despicable and shameless, but he's still one of the Alliance's elders, a major power of the holy universe. All we need to do is snatch Zhao Gao away. Morong Yu instructed the tyrant along the way. He was afraid the tyrant kill Zhao Su too. This piece of trash. After I recover my cultivation, I'll help you unify the sacred universe, the deity universe, and the martial universe, the tyrant said domineeringly. As the world of the universe of the world of the universe. Teat of the universe, 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 of the universe. Zhao of the universe's universe universe. Universe of the T of this? Of the kilt T. Of T of course wants universe of the T. Yes, the of the. Of the assessed heat. Tu. In the end, he agreed. T. In the broken universe or back to the holy universe. Kid, I can't absorb the death aura, and it'll harm my soul. The tyrant asked. In the broken universe. Zhao Su might think it's the divine universe's doing? Morong Yu chuckled. You're getting more and more treacherous. The tyrant stared at Morong Yu, and at the same time, he attacked. Shua. He left the He Tu and the Luo Shu and transformed into the most powerful being of the divine universe, who had killed everyone in the tyrannical emperor's palace. Then, he reached out his hand and grabbed at Zhao Su, who was moving forward quickly. Not only is this overlord treacherous, he's also vengeful. Morong Yu couldn't help rolling his eyes when he saw the overlord's appearance. The person he transformed into was on the same level as the Vice Alliance leader of the Holy Universe. That day, both sides almost killed the tyrant. Maybe he didn't kill them in the end, and was still holding a grudge. At the same time, he could trick him today. Moreover, the tyrant could have knocked Zhao Su out with a single slap, and then snatched Zhao Gao away. But he'd suppressed his cultivation to the peak Downlord realm. Zhao Su, who was moving forward, instantly reacted. When he turned around to take a look, he almost jumped in fright. It's you? How dare you? Zhao Su was already furious, and now that he saw an expert of the divine universe dare to launch a sneak attack on him from behind the holy universe, he couldn't help but become even more furious. With a furious roar, Zhao Su immediately attacked and engaged the tyrant in battle. Both of them were peak Tao Lords. However, there were differences in strength between peak Tao Lords. Obviously, it was the tyrant who was a peak Tao Lord. After all, he was the Vice Alliance leader of the Holy Universe. How could a mere Tao Lord like Zhao Su compare to him? Zhao Su had been at a disadvantage since the beginning of the battle, and it was only a matter of time before he was defeated. However, he could still hold on for a while. At the same time, he sent out a signal. At this moment, the Grand Tao realm experts of the Holy Universe were swarming over from the military camp. They weren't very far from the military camp, and Murong Yu soon sensed waves of powerful auras tearing through space as they swiftly approached. Bang! At this moment, the tyrant suddenly sent Zhao Su flying with a punch. Then, he took a step forward and appeared in front of Zhao Gao. He punched out again. In the midst of Zhao Su's furious roar, Zhao Gao was directly smashed into pieces by a punch. Zhao Su's eyes widened with rage. Oof, I'll let you off for now. Grand Marshal of the Holy Universe Alliance's army? You'll be killed by our divine universe in the end. All the cultivators of the Holy Universe will die. The Holy Universe belongs to our divine universe. Despicable existences like you don't have the right to live in the Holy Universe. The tyrant laughed coldly, and his figure flickered as he tore through space and flew towards the distance. Where do you think you're going? Zhao Su roared as he gave chase. At this moment, a large number of Grand Tao realm experts from the Holy Universe caught up. However, the tyrant gradually increased his speed and soon left Zhao Su and the others behind. Ha, this feels good. The tyrant laughed loudly in Hichu Luo Shu. Zhao Gao, on the other hand, stood in front of him with an ashen face. No matter how stupid Zhao Gao was, he knew what was going on. There were no experts from the divine universe attacking him at all. This was all Murong Yu's scheme. Previously, when Zhao Su saw Zhao Gao being smashed with a punch, it was actually just a trick. The real Zhao Gao had already been transferred to Hichu Luo Shu. Murong Yu, what do you want? Zhao Gao was completely terrified and no longer had the arrogance he had before. There was only fear. Nothing much. This friend of mine just wants to possess your body. Murong Yu looked at Zhao Gao with ridicule as he pointed at the tyrant emperor beside him. I'm just a piece of trash. My body is nothing special. Even if I possess it, it's useless. Zhao Gao was afraid of death and quickly begged for mercy. You're indeed a piece of trash. You're in a treasure mountain, but you don't recognize it. You're just a piece of trash. If you can cultivate your body, even if you can't become a Tao ancestor, you'll be invincible among the Tao Lords. Unfortunately, you're just a piece of trash. The tyrant mocked. He really wanted to slap Zhao Gao. However, when he thought about how this body would soon be his, he couldn't bear to do so. Wasn't it stupid to hit himself? Murong Yu, extract his soul from me. I'm going to possess him. The tyrant looked at Murong Yu. Although he could extract Zhao Gao's soul, he wasn't a member of the soul race. However, he wasn't a member of the soul clan and wasn't as familiar with souls as Murong Yu. Murong Yu nodded and was about to make a move. Murong Yu, you can't do this to me. If you kill me, my father won't let you off. Zhao Gao's face was twisted. Your father? Murong Yu sneered and pointed at the tyrant. He's a Tao ancestor. Not to mention one Zhao Su. Even 1,000 or 10,000 Zhao Zus wouldn't be his match. Let me ask you, am I afraid of your father? Zhao Gao fell silent, despair flashing across his eyes. He had long guessed that Murong Yu had a Tao ancestor-level existence by his side. Now, this person was right beside him and wanted to possess his body with such a Tao ancestor as his backer. Who would Murong Yu be afraid of? With a wave of his hand, Murong Yu directly extracted Zhao Gao's soul. Then with a flick of his finger, Zhao Gao's soul was annihilated. Murong Yu wasn't interested in Zhao Gao's memories at all. So what if Zhao Su knew he was the one who did it? With the tyrant around, who would dare touch him? His body is still too weak and can't contain my soul at all. Therefore, I need to slowly refine his body. Moreover, even if I completely possess his body, I still need some time to recover my cultivation. Murong-yu, is there a place with rich heaven and earth essence energy? The tyrant asked Murong-yu as he possessed Zhao Gao's body. Although time could be sped up in Hichu Luo-shu, there wasn't enough heaven and earth essence energy. Therefore, he directly eliminated Hichu Luo-shu. Actually, Murong-yu knew of a place that was very suitable for the tyrant, the Rising Sun Dao Mansion. However, only he could enter and exit the Rising Sun Dao Mansion freely. If he cultivated there, the tyrant wouldn't be able to enter and exit freely. At that time, even if he recovered his cultivation, he wouldn't be able to rush over in time if Murong-yu was in danger. Let's go to the sacred universe and find a place. You can possess him first. Murong-yu rolled his eyes. If he had known, he would have read Zhao Gao's memories. However, now that he had Patriarch Hanyi's memories, it was all the same. After searching through his memories, Murong-yu quickly found a place with 10,000 times the heaven and earth essence energy. Although the heaven and earth essence energy was still somewhat insufficient, it was already the place with the highest heaven and earth essence energy that he knew of. Therefore, Murong-yu activated Hichu Luo-shu's teleportation ability and directly teleported back to the sacred universe. Chapter 2253. Murong-yu, I won't be able to help you for a long time. You have to be careful. Before going into seclusion, the tyrant warned Murong-yu. At this time, they had already returned to the sacred universe and appeared in that place with 10,000 times the heaven and earth essence energy. The tyrant wanted to go into seclusion here to completely control Zhao Gao's physical body and recover his peak strength. Possession was actually very simple, but Zhao Gao's physical body was too weak and couldn't completely merge with the tyrant's soul. This required a period of time to temper the physical body. Moreover, even after possession, the tyrant would need an extremely long time to recover his peak strength. Murong-yu nodded and was about to leave. However, he was stopped by the tyrant. There's a large amount of energy accumulated in your body. This energy is constantly released, and it can allow your strength to improve rapidly. Now, I'll lend you a hand and help you break through to the selfless realm. The tyrant already knew Murong-yu's true realm and what he did that day. Murong-yu was about to refuse. He had already improved several minor realms previously, and if he continued to improve, it wouldn't be a good thing for him. However, the tyrant had already made his move. Murong-yu had no choice but to sit down cross-legged. Rumble, the Dao ancestor's power blasted into Murong-yu's body like a torrent, drowning him entirely. Under the tyrant's power, the energy that was originally dormant in Murong-yu's body was directly forced out, and then gathered into Murong-yu's power. Immediately, Murong-yu's power skyrocketed rapidly at a speed visible to the naked eye. The energy was extremely pure, and there was no need for Murong-yu to refine it at all. Moreover, Murong-yu also discovered that even if his power was increasing, there seemed to be no side effects at all. It was directly like a blessing. What he had to do was to familiarize himself with his new power. I said earlier that I can raise a peak Dao Lord to the Dao Ancestor realm, and I wasn't talking nonsense. Although your battle prowess is heaven-defying, your true realm is too low. I can help you directly advance to the selfless realm without any repercussions. The tyrant's voice sounded in Murong-yu's ears. Murong-yu nodded slightly, not saying a word, and seriously cooperated with the tyrant. Not long after, Murong-yu's body trembled, and an aura that was 100 times stronger than before erupted from his body. Selfless realm. He had finally broken through. Seeing that Murong-yu had finally broken through, the Overlord acted as though he had completed his mission and immediately went into seclusion. At that moment, Murong-yu did not stop cultivating. Instead, he was comprehending. The Tyrant Emperor didn't just forcefully raise Murong-yu's realm, but also passed on his cultivation experience of the selfless realm to Murong-yu in the process of helping Murong-yu raise his strength. It could be said that even though Murong-yu had just broken through to the selfless realm, His comprehension of the selfless realm had surpassed any other selfless realm cultivator. Even those peak Tao Lord's comprehension of the selfless realm was inferior to Murong Yu's, because what Murong Yu had obtained was the tyrant emperor's comprehension of the selfless realm. However, even though these experiences were supreme, they still belonged to someone else. However, since it belonged to someone else, Murong Yu wouldn't directly use it. If he wanted to break through to the Tao realm, then he had to have his own Tao. What was Tao? That was the path he had to take in the future. How should he take it? Even though the tyrant emperor's Tao was like a bright lamp that guided Murong Yu, it wasn't his Tao. The true self realm was to return to one's true self and return to one's original self. It was as if everything had returned to the starting point. As the name implied, the selfless realm was a realm where there was no self. There was no past, present, or future. Why was there no self? I truly exist in the chaos. As long as I'm not dead, I'll exist. Even if the physical body decayed, the soul wouldn't be destroyed. Unless the physical body decayed and the soul was annihilated. Return to the chaos. Without me, there would be no everything about me. But what I want to pursue is the chaos controller, the most powerful existence in the chaos. I am everything. Everything is me. I am the endless chaos. Murong Yu pondered, and suddenly he seemed to have comprehended something. At this moment, Murong Yu finally found his Tao. In reality, his Tao had always existed. It had always existed since he was a mortal. The chaos controller. Rumble. Right at this moment, Murong Yu's aura erupted once more, and it swept out like waves, growing stronger and stronger. However, his cultivation realm didn't increase. However, his combat strength had increased greatly, because his strength and soul had started to fuse with even more vortexes. And the more vortexes he fused, the more terrifying Murong Yu's combat strength became. 1,000,000 vortexes. In less than 2 hours, Murong Yu's vortexes had already skyrocketed to 1,000,000. It was rather terrifying. One had to know that he previously worked himself to death to fuse 500,000 soul vortexes. Now, he fused 500,000 in 2 hours. Furthermore, this wasn't Murong Yu taking the initiative to fuse. Apart from that, Murong Yu's soul sphere also skyrocketed, directly doubling to 20,000. Even the area covered by the Tree of Life's canopy had increased several times, greatly increasing the size of dozens of star regions. His cultivation realm was still selfless realm level 1, but his combat strength had already turned heaven and earth upside down. This was the power of comprehending Tao. Once comprehending Tao, one's strength skyrocketed. Selfless realm has the combat strength of a Tao Lord. Murong Yu, you're the most heaven-defying cultivator I've ever seen. If there are no accidents, you can definitely become the Chaos Controller. I've never heard of anyone becoming the Chaos Controller. You should be the first. The Overlord opened his eyes, and a look of shock flashed across his face as he said. The Overlord's words seemed to have another meaning. Murong Yu looked at the Overlord with some surprise and asked, "Is there another controller? Time, space, order, war, life, fate, death, destruction, and chaos controller. These are the legendary 9 great controllers." The Overlord spoke frankly with assurance, revealing some secrets that Murong Yu had never heard of before. These 9 great controllers already control everything in the world, and the Chaos Controller is the most powerful among them. Together with the other 8 great controllers, he can also control. Therefore, Murong Yu, if you want to become the Chaos Controller, it will definitely be incomparably difficult. In the end, you'll have to face that monstrous controller. The pressure was immense. Overlord, when you were at your peak, how did you compare to those controllers? The Overlord was directly speechless. There are a total of 3 levels of Tao Ancestors, and I've only just stepped into the 2nd level. And the controllers are supreme existences above Tao Ancestors. They can kill billions of me with one breath. However, my goal is to kill a controller and replace him. Murong Yu rolled his eyes. Aren't you afraid of being heard by those controllers? Although the other controllers don't control the chaos, they are also omnipotent existences. I'm afraid that the actions of ants like us won't be able to escape their eyes. There's a huge gap between my strength and the controllers. Even if they hear, they won't hold it against me. You, on the other hand, are definitely a thorn in the side of those 8 controllers, a thorn in their flesh. Without the chaos controller, those 8 are the 8 most powerful existences in the chaos. But if you become the chaos controller, they can only look up to you. So good luck to you. The Overlord didn't know if he was gloating or something else, but he laughed mischievously. Murong Yu patted Zhao Gao, who was the Overlord, on the shoulder. Don't worry, I'll definitely become the chaos controller. No matter how strong the enemy is, they won't be able to stop me from becoming the chaos controller. I'll kill all gods in my way. Once I become the controller of primal chaos, I'll make you the controller of war. That's suitable for you. Murong Yu laughed. With a flash of his body, he left and returned to the shattered universe. The matter of the 8 great controllers had long been tossed aside by him. That was just a legend. Who knew if there were such existences? Moreover, even if the 8 controllers really existed, with Murong Yu's current strength, he was worried for nothing. Because he wasn't a match for them at all. Groundless worries. When he returned to the army camp, the news of Zhao Su being killed and Zhao Gao being killed had already spread like wildfire. However, those great Dao realm experts who were chasing after them had all returned. As for Zhao Su, she was forcefully ordered to return to the Alliance headquarters. She was furious. If it wasn't for a deputy Alliance leader who rushed over in time, Zhao Su would have led the Sacred Universe Alliance army to kill the Divine Universe's side. This was not in line with the Sacred Universe's strategy. The Sacred Universe didn't want to defeat those people. Instead, it wanted to stall for time and delay the Divine Universe's army. They wanted to wait for the Martial Universe and the Divine Universe to fight it out. However, Murong Yu soon realized that something was wrong. That was because the Sacred Universe Alliance army was much larger than usual. Moreover, there was a large number of Sacred Universe Alliance soldiers coming from the Sacred Universe's teleportation formation every second. In fact, Murong Yu had already discovered that there was at least an elder-level existence in the army. Swoosh! An aura stronger than anyone present suddenly stepped out of the teleportation formation. The aura was like a tide, rolling over. Deputy Alliance Leader level. Murong Yu was shocked. This Deputy Alliance Leader was even stronger than the previous Deputy Alliance Leader. Moreover, the previous Deputy Alliance Leader was here to fight for the tyrannical Emperor Palace. He didn't bring an army with him. At this moment, the Vice Alliance Leader led his subordinates over in a majestic manner. The Sacred Universe Alliance only had a total of 10 Deputy Alliance Leaders. In other words, each Deputy Alliance Leader had 1/10 of the Sacred Universe Alliance's military strength. What's going on? Murong Yu had a premonition that something big had happened. However, with his position in the Alliance, he didn't have the right to know this. After the Deputy Alliance Leader level existence arrived, they immediately held a meeting. However, only those at least at the executive level were qualified to participate. Just as Murong Yu was about to communicate with old Ancestor Hun, an order to transfer troops came. All great Dao realm cultivators had to finish gathering within 2 hours. This included Murong Yu. This order to transfer troops confirmed Murong Yu's guess. Chapter 2254. So many great Dao realm experts. When Murong Yu gathered together as ordered, he couldn't help sucking in a breath of cold air. In terms of realm, great Dao realm experts were already at the peak of the Sacred Universe. Such experts were extremely rare in the first place. For example, the mysterious Heavenly Palace controlled 100,000 star regions. However, only Patriarch Heavenly Secrets was a great Dao realm expert, and he was only at the initial Dao realm. Only one great Dao realm expert appeared in 100,000 star regions. One could imagine how rare great Dao realm experts were. However, Murong Yu saw at least a few 100,000 great Dao realm experts. What did a few 100,000 mean? based on the fact that only one great Tao realm expert appeared in 100,000 star regions. At least tens of billions of star regions were needed to produce so many great Tao realm experts. Moreover, Morong knew, these few 100,000 great Tao realm experts were just the tip of the iceberg in the Sacred Universe Alliance. There were even more great Tao realm experts in the Sacred Universe. This was very normal. Great Tao realm experts were rare, but there were many star regions in the Sacred Universe. However, Morong also saw that most of the great Tao realm experts here were at the initial Tao realm. There were relatively few who had reached the Tao Lord realm. As for the Tao Lord realm experts, they were even rarer. As for the Tao Ancestor experts, other than the Overlord Tao Ancestor who only had a wisp of remnant soul left, Morong hadn't seen a second Tao Ancestor expert. It was said that although the Sacred Universe wasn't strong, there were still Tao Ancestor experts. Morong knew that the Soul Clan's patriarch was a Tao Ancestor level existence. As for the others, were there any Tao Ancestor experts? Perhaps there were? Morong wasn't sure. Morong, do you know what happened? Patriarch Heavenly Secrets approached and asked through voice transmission. Morong shook his head. Although his status in the Alliance was higher than Patriarch Heavenly Secrets, he still didn't know. After all, he was only a vice captain. Something big must have happened to gather all the great Tao realm experts. You have to be careful. Don't die. Morong didn't know what was going on, but he instinctively felt danger. Therefore, he warned Forefather Tianji, Sun Yu, and the others. In fact, Sun Yu and the other 30 great Tao realm slaves, as well as Morong, Xian, and the others had not appeared here. Morong, Xian, and the others had already broken through to the initial Tao realm. However, Morong forcefully suppressed their cultivation to the selfless realm. He couldn't show off too much, or he would attract the attention of others. It wouldn't do them any good. Moreover, it was obvious that something dangerous would happen this time. So Morong did not let them get involved. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Not long after Morong and the others gathered, more people broke through the void from afar and shot over. They were all great Tao realm experts. In the blink of an eye, the number of great Tao realm experts who had gathered in the military camp exceeded 1 million. Moreover, Morong could clearly see that many deacons, elders, and even more Vice Alliance leaders had already appeared here. This included his clone, Forefather Hun E. 9 of the 10 great Vice Alliance leaders of the Alliance had already appeared. Other than the Vice Alliance leader who had been injured in the tyrannical Emperor's palace and could not come, there was no one else left. Moreover, most of the 100 elders and 1,000 deacons had also come. They had mobilized so many people. At the same time, Morong had also received a message from his clone, Forefather Hun E. Immediately, his expression changed. We've received news that not long after, a heaven-defying treasure will appear in the angel universe. That treasure is extremely shocking, and it can even greatly increase the strength of our sacred universe. Therefore, we must snatch that treasure back at all costs. After millions of great Tao realm experts had gathered, a Vice Alliance leader of the Sacred Universe Alliance spoke in a deep voice. Angel Universe? After hearing the Vice Alliance leader's words, millions of great Tao realm experts became restless. Originally, the Sacred Universe had been in seclusion and did not know much about other universes. However, following the invasion of the Divine Universe, the Sacred Universe gradually opened up. They also gained a lot of knowledge about other universes. The Angel Universe was a universe that was rich in angels. Or angels. They were actually birdmen with wings on their backs. However, these birdmen were extremely powerful individually. They were even stronger than the experts of the Martial Tao universe. The Angel Universe was countless times vaster than the Martial Tao universe and the Divine Universe. Its overall strength was many times stronger than the Martial Tao universe. However, due to the uniqueness of the Angel Universe, the Angel Universe did not directly invade other universes. However, It used a special method to invade and plunder the resources of other universes. The special method was to preach. Ordinary cultivators would become believers of the angels. After they offered their souls, the angels would reward them with higher-level power to increase the strength of these believers. However, in reality, the ones who benefited the most were the angels. This was because the souls of those believers had already become the souls of the angels. By controlling these believers, they could plunder the resources of a universe where the believers were located. This kind of faith was different from Murong-Yu's believers. Murong-Yu's believers purely believed in Murong-Yu and allowed him to produce the power of faith. However, Murong-Yu would not interfere with them, let alone control their souls. The reason why everyone was in an uproar was because they knew how powerful the angel universe was. The millions of Grand Dao realm experts seemed powerful, but if they entered the angel universe, it would be like a drop of water entering the ocean. They would not be able to cause any waves. Moreover, even the sacred universe knew that the treasure had appeared. How could the other universes not know? When the time came, there would definitely be a fierce battle. This time, it's not just us. Even the martial Dao universe and the divine universe will participate in the battle. Therefore, you don't have to worry about our rear. The deputy leader continued. Deputy leader, what exactly are we going to seize? We don't know anything. At this moment, a Dao master at the level of the small captain asked loudly. The deputy leader did not answer immediately. Instead, he slowly glanced at everyone and then said in a deep voice, I'm not afraid to tell you. This time, we're going to seize a treasure that can allow us to become Dao ancestors. Become a Dao ancestor's treasure? Hiss, Moron, you could clearly hear the crowd sucking in a breath of cold air. The next moment, everyone was in an uproar. Originally, they had some resistance to the expedition to the angel universe. But now, all of them wished that they could immediately appear in the angel universe. After all, who didn't want to become a Dao ancestor? Once they became a Dao ancestor, they would be on the same level as the leader of the alliance. Although there were many universes in the endless chaos, they could go to all of them. Murong-Yu, you don't seem to be excited at all? That's a treasure that can become a Dao ancestor. We also have a chance to obtain it, although the probability is not high. Patriarch Tianji looked at Murong-Yu with a trace of excitement. Murong-Yu had already known about this from his clone. How could he still be excited? Moreover, Murong-Yu also had a crazy plan. He had to obtain this treasure that could allow someone to become a Dao ancestor and let his clone, Patriarch Han-E, become a Dao ancestor. At that time, Murong-Yu would not need to rely on the Overlord. At that time, even if someone discovered that he was a chaotic celestial body, he would still have the ability to protect himself. However, this was only what he thought in his heart. He could not let anyone know. Therefore, he said indifferently, a treasure that can become a Dao ancestor. I'm afraid that even a Dao ancestor powerhouse will fight for it, right? The probability of people like us obtaining that treasure is infinitely close to zero. Since that's the case, why should we be happy for nothing? Patriarch Tianji nodded. He felt that what Murong-Yu said made sense. However, he could not help but feel excited. If he really obtained it, then he would be a Dao ancestor-level existence. Murong-Yu did not say anything about this. Anyway, he was not as optimistic as Patriarch Tianji. Not long after, under the leadership of many Deputy Alliance leaders, everyone left the shattered universe and entered another universe nearby. Then, they flew silently toward Angel Universe. At this time, Murong-Yu had already appeared beside his clone. Naturally, he also brought Sun Yu, Patriarch Tianji, and the others. This scene made many Virtue Realm powerhouses envious. After all, in their eyes, Murong-Yu had obtained the favor of a Deputy Alliance leader. In the future, he would skyrocket. However, in the eyes of those big shots, this scene was quite normal. After all, Murong-Yu's performance was simply too heaven-defying. It was very normal for a Deputy Alliance leader to view him in a different light. Moreover, it was not just Patriarch Han-E. The other big shots also had the same intention. It was just that Patriarch Han-E was one step ahead. In fact, even if they were one step ahead, Murong-Yu would not join them. After all, Patriarch Hun-E was his clone. Angel Universe and Saint Universe were extremely far apart. There were dozens of universes between them. However, Murong-Yu and the others were very low-key. They did not cause any trouble at all and did not stop at all. Therefore, they crossed dozens of universes very quickly and entered Angel Universe. Swoosh! Just as Murong-Yu stepped into the angel's cosmos, a dazzling light descended from the sky, instantly submerging him. At the same time, the light rapidly entered his body through billions of pores. Murong-Yu frowned slightly. Just as he was about to resist and expel the power from his body, the power in his body took the initiative to fuse with it. After squirming for a while, it assimilated the power that entered his body into his own power. At the same time, Murong-Yu saw what the light that entered his body was. In fact, the light was not light, but some kind of power. Unlike other universes, the entire angel universe was filled with this kind of white power. As far as the eye could see, it was a vast expanse of white, as if they had entered a world of ice and snow. This was the power of Angel Universe. Chapter 2255. Angelic energy was actually two types of energy. One was naturally the energy within an angel's body, while the other was the energy of heaven and earth in the angelic universe. However, they were both called angelic energy. Angelic energy was extremely pure and carried a hint of holiness. However, that was only on the surface. True angels would spread their worshippers everywhere and plunder resources from other universes. How could an angel like that be called holy? In fact, the angels' hearts were the same as those of other universes. There was no difference. The only difference was the uniqueness of the angelic universe. This damnable angelic power is truly detestable. A Downlord by Murong-Yu's side said unhappily. Actually, it wasn't just that Downlord. Apart from Murong-Yu, everyone else was equally displeased. This was because the angelic energy was like the aura of death in the shattered universe, constantly invading their bodies. However, they couldn't refine it either. Therefore, they had to divert a portion of their energy to resist the invasion of the angelic energy. In addition, they couldn't directly absorb the angelic energy, which imperceptibly weakened their strength. Only Murong-Yu's special stagnation could absorb the angelic energy normally. However, even Murong-Yu wasn't used to the pure and holy appearance of the angelic universe. Here, he always felt a little uncomfortable. It was as if a pair of eyes were watching him from above. However, when he carefully observed, he did not discover anything. Invaders from another world. The Lord says he will judge you. At this moment, an angel appeared out of thin air in front of everyone. It was an angel with 24 wings on its back. This was one of the legendary 24-winged angels, equivalent to a Tao Lord of the sacred universe. At this moment, the angel hovered in the air in front of Murong-Yu and the others with a murderous look on its face, saying something. At the same time, the angelic energy around it rapidly condensed towards it. Judge my ass. Many of the sacred universe's experts were already displeased to be suppressed by the energy of heaven and earth as soon as they'd arrived. Now that they saw this angel pretending to be pure and holy and saying he would judge them, they were actually preparing to attack and kill them. Some of the more hot-tempered Tao Lords couldn't help but shout and attack at the same time. Rumble, that 24-winged angel was indeed powerful. His individual combat power was above a Saint Universe great being of the same level. But now, there were dozens of people attacking him. Therefore, the 24-winged angel didn't even have time to attack before he let out a scream and was torn apart. However, after the angel was killed, Murong-Yu did not see flesh and blood flying everywhere. Not even a drop of blood could be seen. It was as if the angel was condensed from power and did not have a physical body. If that was the case, Murong-Yu's eyes lit up. At best, these creatures formed from energy could only be considered as energy bodies. Even if they had intelligence, they could not even be considered as living beings. Moreover, the power of this kind of energy was usually very pure and huge. Murong needed to constantly devour energy to increase his realm. If he could refine a large number of these powerful angels, his strength would definitely soar. Even if Murong was unable to obtain the treasure that would allow him to become a Tao ancestor, he would still be able to reap a huge harvest. After destroying the 24-winged angel, they continued on their way. After all, the angel universe was simply too big. It was dozens of times larger than the saint universe. However, they weren't angels. After entering the angel universe, the people of the saint universe were unable to fit in. In less than a few days, the sacred universe was attacked by many angel powerhouses. There were even ambushes. On this day, the people of the saint universe gathered on a relatively barren planet and hid. Meanwhile, the Vice Alliance leaders, elders, and deacons were gathered together for a meeting. Murong had been inseparable from his clone, Forefather Hun Yi, for the past few days, so he was fortunate to be present at the meeting. Murong, this is a meeting for the bigwigs. What are you doing here? Why aren't you leaving? Zhao Shufu saw Murong as soon as he entered. He immediately started cursing Murong furiously. At the same time, he reached out his hand and grabbed Murong. Murong's eyes flashed coldly. Zhao Su had been displeased with him for the past few days. However, Murong couldn't be bothered to pay attention to him. How dare he attack him in front of so many bigwigs? He couldn't take it anymore. Zhao Su, how dare you attack my people? Murong didn't attack. Instead, he used his doppelganger's power to shout out. Zhao Su's eyes flashed with fear when he saw the vice leader, Forefather Hun Yi, furious. He immediately retracted his hand. Whether it was personal strength or the power behind him, Zhao Su was far inferior to Forefather Hun Yi. Therefore, he didn't dare to do anything. After being reprimanded by Forefather Hun Yi, he retracted his hand and didn't dare to do anything else. Coward who bullies the kind and fears the evil. Zhao Su stopped, but Murong didn't let him go. He still wanted to find a chance to kill this guy. Otherwise, this guy would keep backstabbing people. It was really impossible to guard against. However, Murong still overestimated Zhao Su. Even if Murong provoked him like this, he only glared fiercely at Murong and didn't flare up. Murong couldn't help but sigh. All right, let's stop here. Let's talk about what to do next. At this time, a vice leader spoke. The other 8 vice leaders didn't say anything about Forefather Hun Yi's anger. In terms of strength, they were still inferior to the soul race. In the holy universe, the soul race wasn't the #1 faction for nothing. Moreover, the soul race had a Tao ancestor-level existence. Their faction didn't have such a terrifying existence. Therefore, even Zhao Su's immediate superior, the vice leader, only glared fiercely at Zhao Su and didn't say anything. With Forefather Hun Yi as his backer, Murong could almost do whatever he wanted in the holy universe. Of course, this was actually his own strength. It wasn't a dog relying on its master's power. Ever since we entered the angel universe, we've been controlled by others. We're suppressed by the heaven and earth essence chi, and there are still strange angels coming out to attack us. Moreover, as time goes by, more and more angels come to attack us, and they're getting stronger and stronger. If this continues, I'm afraid a 26-winged angel will attack. A vice leader level big shot said with an ugly expression. A 26-winged angel was a Tao ancestor level existence. One had to know that the angel universe was dozens of times larger than the holy universe. In theory, the angel universe had dozens of times more Tao ancestor powerhouses than the holy universe. If a 26-winged angel attacked, even if all of them attacked together, they probably wouldn't be a match. It was very likely that they would all be wiped out and die in a foreign land. We didn't stay in one place for too long along the way. Moreover, the direction we're walking in isn't fixed. This way, the angels will know our exact location. I can't help but suspect that there's a traitor in our holy universe. Zhao Su spoke. As he spoke, he looked at Murong with a suspicious expression. Morongyu was furious. This Zhao Su was really courting death. He'd previously accused him of colluding with the God universe, and now he was accusing him of colluding with the angel universe? Slap! Patriarch Han E directly attacked. He unleashed all his power as a peak Dao master. In addition, there was a huge gap between him and Zhao Su. Therefore, Zhao Su didn't even have time to react before Patriarch Han E slapped him hard across the face. With a swoosh, Zhao Su was sent flying. His entire head was smashed like a watermelon. Zhao Su, Morongyu is a member of the Soul Clan. You suspect him of being a traitor? In other words, my Soul Clan is a traitor? Patriarch Han E was furious and murderous. Zhao Su was horrified. His face was filled with fear as he recovered his head. Patriarch Han Yi's accusation was too heavy. It was so heavy on his head that he couldn't breathe. Patriarch Han E could slap him to death at any time for framing the Soul Clan. However, the others didn't dare say anything. If there really is a traitor, I suspect that person is Zhao Su. Previously, he suspected me of colluding with the God universe, but now he's slandering me. Zhao Su, when are you going to admit it? Morongyu shouted at the right moment. Zhao Su turned pale with fright. His eyes were filled with terror. If it was confirmed that he was a traitor, he would die without a doubt. Zhao Su, is it as Morongyu said? Patriarch Han, he looked at Zhao Su with murderous intent. I'm innocent. Zhao Su couldn't even speak. He could only defend himself. All of this was caused by my unfilial son. I really didn't know. Zhao Su quickly pushed the blame to his son. This made Morongyu despise him even more. I'll investigate this matter thoroughly. If you really are a traitor, then not only will you die, but your entire faction will die as well. However, you can avoid death, but you can't escape punishment. You're no longer suitable to continue being an elder of the Alliance. From now on, you'll be demoted to a deacon. As for your original position, it'll be taken by Morongyu. Do you have any objections? Hun, the position of an elder is high and powerful. It requires extremely strong strength. After all, Morongyu is only at the true self realm. Air, the selfless realm. I'm afraid he doesn't have the qualifications to be an elder, right? A vice leader immediately spoke. After all, the Sacred Universe Alliance wasn't completely united. Many vice leaders wanted to nurture their trusted subordinates and strengthen their forces in the Alliance. On the other hand, it was best for the positions of deacon and elder to be controlled by them. Even though Morongyu is only at the selfless realm, his combat strength is absolutely not inferior to an ordinary Dao Lord. Moreover, most importantly, he's only at the selfless realm. Moreover, with his speed of improvement, he'll soon attain the initial Dao realm. At that time, even if he's unable to attain the combat strength of a Dao Lord, he's still not someone an ordinary peak Dao Lord can compare to. Patriarch Han E spoke indifferently. At the same time, he gave Morongyu a look. Morongyu naturally understood what Patriarch Han E meant, because all of this was his intention. Thus, he completely erupted with his aura. Chapter 2256. An early-stage Dao Lord? However, when Morongyu unleashed his aura, the expressions of all the experts changed. Some people even cried out in surprise. Morongyu slowly glanced at everyone. He saw fear, jealousy, and even killing intent in their eyes. Yes, killing intent. Someone at the selfless realm had the terrifying combat strength of a Dao Lord. Then wouldn't Morongyu be at the Dao Ancestor realm when he entered the initial Dao realm? If that was the case, wouldn't he be above them? At that time, the Soul Clan would have 2 Dao Ancestors. That was something they didn't want to see. The Soul Clan was already stronger than them. If another Dao Ancestor appeared, then they would never have the chance to turn the tables. Furthermore, the speed at which Morongyu's cultivation was increasing was practically visible to them. It was extremely fast. Therefore, even though Morongyu couldn't do anything to them now, they were still very afraid and even jealous of him. As for killing intent, it was because they already felt the threat from Morongyu. They wanted to eliminate Morongyu. Morongyu had long since guessed the crowd's reaction. It was normal for them to want to kill him. However, Moronu had never feared them. If he successfully became an elder of the Alliance today, he would have a high position and authority. In the Alliance, there were only a few people who were above him. Coupled with his clone, he could practically do anything in the Alliance. Moreover, if he was given a little more time, he could easily suppress these big shots present. That was unless they were shameless enough to kill Moronu without regard for anything else and erase him from the cradle. It's still not possible. Everyone present is a peak Dowlord. Even though Morunu's potential is huge, his cultivation realm is still too low. Therefore, I don't agree with him becoming an elder of the Alliance. It was the previous Deputy Alliance leader who continued to reject Patriarch Hun Yi's suggestion. I don't agree either. After witnessing Morunu's terrifying talent and potential, the Vice Alliance Master, who had remained silent, could no longer remain calm. He could no longer remain silent. One after another, they voiced their disapproval. Apart from Forefather Hun Yi, who was also Moronu, the other 8 vice leaders all rejected the idea of Moronu becoming an elder. It was obvious that Moronu had deeply threatened them. As for the elders and deacons, they watched this scene quietly. This was a war between the vice leaders, and it was not something they could get involved in. Only Zhao Su, who had been stripped of his position and demoted to deacon, stared at Moronu and Forefather Hun Yi with eyes filled with hatred. He looked as if he couldn't wait to eat Moronu and Yi Zichen alive. Moronu's expression turned ugly. However, everyone's reaction was still within his expectations. I know what you're thinking, Forefather Hun Yi said indifferently. Hun Yi said, you all probably think that my soul race, the strongest power in the sacred universe, can only have one elder in the Alliance? You're afraid of the Spiritas, afraid that we'll grow stronger? Everyone's expression changed slightly. This was something everyone was well aware of. No one would say it out loud. But Forefather Hun Yi had said it out loud. What was the meaning of this? I've made my stance clear today. Moronu must become the second elder of the Spiritas in the Alliance. He's only the second. Which one of you doesn't have an elder-level confidant? Forefather Hun Yi looked at the other 8 with a dark expression. His attitude was rather unyielding. Ha ha ha. We're just worried that Moronu isn't up to the job. Since Brother Hun Yi insists, there's no need for us to insist. Right? One of the vice leaders laughed and was the first to relent. Although the other vice leaders were unwilling, they used this as an excuse to step down. They weren't willing to continue fighting to the death with Forefather Hun Yi. After all, the situation was very disadvantageous to them. Aside from the Alliance leader, the Spiritlings had many other peak Daelord-level experts. The Spiritas was stronger than any of them. If they continued to fight to the death, it would only be disadvantageous to them. Since that's the case, Moronu, you'll officially become one of the 100 elders of the Alliance today. Zhao Su's subordinates, including Zhao Su, have all been accepted by Moronu. At the same time, from today onwards, I'll send a few peak Dowlords of the Spiritas under your command. If anyone disobeys, you can kill them first and report later. As long as you do the right thing, I, Hun Yi, will support you. As he spoke, Forefather Hun Yi glanced coldly at the others. We're willing to follow Elder Moron's orders. Some of Zhao Su's deacons hurriedly expressed their stance. Although they were deacons of the Alliance, their status was far inferior to that of an elder. As he watched them express their loyalty, Moronu nodded slightly. All right, as long as you're loyal, you'll definitely be rewarded. In fact, I can even share the secrets of the soul with you. The Alliance had about 1,000 deacons. Roughly 10 deacons followed an elder, and 10 elders followed a Spirita's ancestor. However, the Spiritas only had one elder before this. Therefore, there was only one elder that Moronu could use. But now, including himself, there were 2. Everyone's eyes lit up. They were extremely afraid of Spirita's experts at the same cultivation level. It was because soul attacks were soundless and extremely strange. If they could understand the secrets of soul attacks and even become soul cultivators, their combat strength would skyrocket. All right, we'll talk about this later. For now, We'll deal with the matter of the angels. Everyone, do you have any thoughts? Asked another Vice Alliance leader. Thus, everyone began to voice their opinions one after another. As for the traitor, no one mentioned it again. Otherwise, they would probably end up like Zhao Su. Moreover, they didn't believe that there would be a traitor or an angel among them. After all, the angel universe was too far away from them. Before this, no one would have come here. There were all kinds of guesses, but none of them were more likely. Could it be that we've been monitored by the other party's Dao ancestor since we entered here? That's why there's an endless stream of angels coming over to kill us? Someone suggested the most likely thing. Impossible. If we're really under the nose of the other party's Dao ancestor, why didn't that Dao ancestor make a move? I'm afraid his divine will can wipe us all out. Moreover, I don't think the other party's Dao ancestor is so terrifying. Murong Yu directly rejected that person's guess. Everyone felt that Murong Yu's words made sense. The Dao ancestor was powerful, but he couldn't be so powerful that his divine will cover the entire angel universe, right? In that case, what were they fighting for? It was better to go home as soon as possible. Since it's impossible, what's your idea? The elder who suggested this idea looked at Murong Yu with an ugly expression. Murong Yu pointed to the sky. However, everyone was puzzled. In the end, Murong Yu could only say the origin of the universe. The origin of the universe? Are you sure you're not joking? You're talking about the origin of the universe? The elder who was refuted by Murong Yu couldn't help but sneer. They all knew what kind of existence the origin of the universe was. It was the same as other world origins. However, it was more powerful than ordinary world origins. The origin of the universe was the origin power of a universe. It was a power without intelligence. It protected the universe and controlled the life in the universe. For example, the heavenly tribulation that appeared in the past was actually because of the origin. Some people swore to the origin. If they broke the oath, the origin power would also interfere. However, the origin was an existence without intelligence. They would never take the initiative to attack a certain life, let alone monitor a certain life, although the entire universe was under its control. You're saying that an angel controlled the origin of the angel universe? A deputy leader said in a deep voice. That's right. If someone controlled the origin of the angel universe, then everything about them would be exposed under the other party's nose, even if every word they said now would be clearly heard by the demon god. Therefore, everyone's expression changed. Only Murong Yu shook his head. He was someone who had controlled the origin of a world before. He knew what kind of ability it had after it was controlled. It could destroy the world with a thought. However, although the origin of the angel universe controlled their whereabouts, it didn't kill them. This wasn't because it was controlled at all. The origin of the angel universe shouldn't be controlled by anyone. Otherwise, we would have been killed long ago. I'm guessing that the origin of the angel universe has developed a consciousness and can actively communicate with the angels. Therefore, when we invaded the angel universe, the origin of the angel universe kept informing the nearby angels of our location so that they could come and kill us. This should be the truth. Patriarch Han nodded. Then, the others nodded as well. Murong Yu's guess was the most reasonable. However, if that was the case, they could only turn around and go back. Otherwise, there would be an endless army of angels swarming over, annoying them to no end. Actually, we don't have to go back. We just need to disguise ourselves as angels to deceive the origin of the angel universe. That way, the origin of the angel universe won't think of us as enemies, Murong Yu explained. Disguise ourselves as angels? That's a good idea. Murong Yu, you can disguise yourself as an angel? A deputy leader looked at Murong Yu with a strange expression. If Murong Yu said yes, would this guy slander him and say that Murong Yu was originally from the angel universe? That he had deliberately snuck into the sacred universe? Murong Yu's intuition told him that this guy had sinister intentions. Therefore, he shook his head. What a joke. Murong Yu couldn't disguise himself for now. Even if he could, he wouldn't tell anyone. Chapter 2257. If they couldn't disguise themselves, they would always be under the surveillance of the angel universe's origin. Moreover, there were millions of them. There was nowhere to hide. Apart from disguising ourselves as angels, how can we avoid the surveillance of the angel universe's origin? A deputy leader looked at everyone and said in a deep voice. Everyone fell silent. How could they know what to do? The universe's origin was everywhere. Unless they entered spatial treasures, there was nowhere to hide as long as they were in the angel universe. I have a suggestion. In the end, it was Morong Yu who spoke. Swish! Immediately, everyone's eyes were cast on him. All of them were hopeful. There are two ways. One is to return where we came from. After all, if that treasure can really help people break through to the Tao ancestor realm, ordinary primordial Tao and Tao lords won't be of any use at all. Even if they're cannon fodder, they're too weak. Hearing this, everyone nodded. In the first place, these big shots didn't want those people to help them. It was just that when there was a need, he could use those great Tao realm experts to block the attacks. Sometimes, even if they only resisted for a moment, the result might be completely different. Therefore, if they were to give up on those ordinary primordial Tao and Tao Lord cultivators and let them return to the holy universe, they wouldn't agree. Therefore, all of them shook their heads. Morong Yu had already thought of this, so he said the second method. Then we can only put them into spatial treasures. That way, our target will be much smaller. Even if we can't avoid the surveillance of the angel universe's origin, our mobility will be much greater. It's also more convenient to move here. Moreover, we have to move separately, but we have to keep in touch at all times. There was strength in numbers. This was a principle that everyone understood. However, the more people there were, the bigger the target. Furthermore, at the final moment, even if one of their own managed to obtain the treasure, it was possible for them to fight one another. Therefore, Morong Yu's suggestion was immediately met with a response from the crowd. That's great. It's decided then. A deputy leader made the decision with a smile on his face. In the end, everyone discussed for a while and asked everyone to keep in touch at all times. Then, they left one after another. In the end, only Morong Yu, his avatar, the Soul Race Elder, and about 20 Alliance deacons were left behind. The few of you immediately gather the great Tao realm experts under you and temporarily enter my spatial treasure. Morong Yu instructed his 10 executor subordinates. Immediately, those people turned to leave to carry out the order. However, Zhao Su spoke up. Elder, it's not that I don't believe in your strength. But this is the angel universe, after all. If you're not careful and die, then we'll all be wiped out. I suggest we go to the Vice Alliance Master's spatial treasure. A cold light flashed in Morong Yu's eyes. Zhao Su would be a scourge in the end. However, he couldn't get rid of him yet. If he were to kill him now, it would chill the hearts of the others. He looked at Zhao Su coldly and said, Zhao Su, are you doubting me? Zhao Su looked at Morong Yu fearlessly. I'm not doubting you. I'm just making a reasonable guess. Morong Yu looked at Zhao Su, and a strong killing intent surged in his heart. However, he smiled on the surface. A reasonable guess? That's not a problem. But you're just a deacon under me. You have to carry out my orders. Otherwise, you'll be disobeying orders. I can kill you directly. Zhao Su's heart turned cold. He knew that Morong Yu was telling the truth. Even though Morong Yu didn't have the ability to kill him now. However, Morong Yu still had a Vice Alliance master backing him. That big shot seemed to think highly of Morong Yu. He didn't dare to say anything else. Therefore, he left resentfully. Zhao Su, I advise you to stop playing tricks behind my back. Otherwise, I'll kill you directly. Just as Zhao Su was about to disappear, Morong Yu's voice, which was filled with strong killing intent, rang out in his ears. Zhao Su's heart turned cold. He knew that Morong Yu had the intention to kill him. However, he had been stripped of his position as an elder. How could he let Morong Yu off so easily? Of course, Morong Yu also knew that Zhao Su wouldn't give up on dealing with him so easily. He was just giving him a warning. If there was a chance, he would definitely kill Zhao Su. This time around, there were about 5 million great Tao realm experts in the angel universe. Including Zhao Su, there were only about 10 deacons under Murong Yu. There were about 5,000 great Tao realm experts under each deacon. This meant that there were about 50,000 great Tao realm experts that Murong Yu could use now. However, what made Murong Yu speechless was that these 50,000 great Tao realm experts were relatively weaker than the great Tao realm experts under the other deacons. Perhaps this was the reason why Zhao Su's position was lower among the elders. However, these people had nothing to do with Zhao Su. If he could make good use of them, Murong Yu could turn these 50,000 great Tao realm cultivators into his trusted subordinates. Moreover, a considerable portion of these 50,000 great Tao realm experts were the leaders of certain forces. The rest were either the leaders or the core figures of their respective forces. If he could subdue all of them, Murong Yu's strength would increase tremendously. In the end, these 50,000 experts, Zhao Su, and the other deacons were kept by Murong Yu into the Hichu Luo Shu. As for the other elders, 50,000 great Tao realm experts, they entered Patriarch Hun Yi's spatial treasure just like the Soul Tribe elder. Patriarch Hun Yi was Murong Yu's clone. In other words, there were more than 100,000 great Tao realm experts that Murong Yu could directly use now. Go and disguise yourself as an angel first. Murong Yu glanced at his clone. The clone naturally understood what he meant. With a sway, it transformed into a stream of light and entered Murong Yu's body. The clone was extremely powerful and controlled a Tao ancestor artifact. It hid in Murong Yu's body and could catch the enemy off guard and deal a fatal blow at a critical moment. After entering the angel universe, Murong Yu could absorb the power of the angels here. However, he did not have an angel in his hands. Therefore, he was still incompatible with the angel universe. Therefore, the angel universe's origin source continued to leak his location. Therefore, after Murong Yu left this planet, he sat down cross-legged on another planet. He wanted to wait here for the angel to come and kill him. He wanted to seize the opportunity to kill the angel and then study the angel so that he could disguise himself as one. Rumble, the original power of the angels, was like the death aura of the shattered universe. It constantly invaded the invader's body, trying to assimilate it. Therefore, when Murong Yu completely let go of his body and took the initiative to devour the power of the angels, the power of the angels surged into his body like raging waves. Awesome! Seeing his power slowly increasing at a speed visible to the naked eye, Murong Yu could not help but feel great. He realized that the power of the angels in the angel universe was too rich. Even though he was on a barren planet, the power of the angels was 100 times richer than the saint universes. Moreover, the power of the angels was of a higher grade and purer than the heaven-earth origin chi in the saint universe. Although there was only a difference of 100 times, it was actually more than 10,000 times. This was only a barren planet. What if it was a large sect in the angel universe? How much more powerful was the power of the angels in the saint universe? 100,000 times? Or 1,000,000 times? No wonder the angel universe is so powerful. With such rich power of the angels, even a stupid pig can quickly cultivate to an extremely high level. If the people in the saint universe can absorb the power of the angels, they can definitely achieve twice the results with half the effort if they cultivate here. Murong Yu thought to himself. He wondered if he should cultivate here in the future. What's going on? Why is the power of the angels getting less and less? Murong Yu was originally feeling great. However, not long after, the power of the angels was getting less and less. In the end, no matter how much he tried, he could not devour the power of the angels. The power of the angels outside has not weakened. It's still the same as before. It's as if someone is stopping me from absorbing the power of the angels. Yes, it must be the origin of the angel universe. Murong Yu was speechless. The angel universe was so smart. Knowing that he was an invader, it did not even give Murong Yu the power of the angels. Its IQ was too high, wasn't it? Murong even suspected that some almighty had already devoured and integrated the origin of the angel universe. Was it actually controlling the entire angel universe? If I can control the origin of the angel universe, Murong suddenly had this crazy idea in his mind. But then he laughed self-deprecatingly. The origin of the universe was different from the origin of the small and large worlds in the past. How could it be so easy to control? After all, the universe was naturally born from chaos. The origin must be extremely powerful. Well, the angels are finally here. At this time, Murong slowly opened his eyes. Then, he saw a few angels tearing the void and shooting over from afar. They're all 18 winged angels. When he saw them, Murong could not help but be stunned. An 18 winged angel was equivalent to a cultivator at the selfless realm. It was the same as Murong's realm. Yes, although the origin of the angel universe is very intelligent, it is not a real life after all. It can only inform the angels of the same realm to kill me based on my realm. Do they think these angels are enough to kill me? Murong suddenly realized and stood up. Chapter 2258. Invader from another world, hurry up and die. Once I kill you, the quintessence of the universe will reward me. After the 18 winged angels shot over, all of them roared loudly as they launched their strongest attacks at Murong. Anyone who didn't know what was going on would think that Murong was their father's murderer. Even Murong, the person in question, was dumbfounded. Reward? There's a reward for killing an invader? Murong was curious. This was the first time he'd heard of such a thing. If he wasn't the only one here, he would really want to see how the quintessence of the angel universe would reward him after he killed the invader. Actually, Murong had thought about tossing Zhao Su out. But how could these 18 winged angels be a match for Zhao Su? Kill! The 18 winged angels roared loudly as they charged over with excited expressions. It seemed like they felt that Murong was dead for sure. They were so excited that they didn't notice the mocking expression on Murong's face. Swoosh! Right when their attacks were about to land on him, Murong finally made a move. He reached out his hand and grabbed at the 18 winged angels in the air. His hand swiftly enlarged, and before those 18 winged angels could even react, the monstrous hand had already grabbed them. In the next moment, they noticed that 7 or 8 of them had been captured. No matter how they struggled, they weren't able to move at all. Murong's combat strength was comparable to an elementary Dowlord, so wasn't it extremely easy for him to deal with these 18 winged angels? After capturing them, Murong immediately entered Hichu Luo Shu. After he sealed them, he tossed them onto the ground. The 18 winged angels still hadn't reacted to what had happened, and they were all stunned. Damnable invaders! Our archangels won't let you off. After a long time, the angels finally reacted. Then, each and every one of them started cursing at Murong without fear of death. Murong was left speechless after being scolded like a dog. In the end, he still sealed their ability to speak. Read their memories first. Although he'd encountered many angels before, Murong hadn't had the chance to come into contact with them at all. Thus, his understanding of the angel universe came from others. Now that he was going to disguise as an angel, he had to understand the angel universe. The angel universe was similar to the saint universe, but there was a huge difference. There were countless cultivators in the saint universe. Humans, demons, and so on. It could be said that it was. But in the angel universe, there were only angels. Not humans or demons, but angels. Moreover, the other universes were all formed, and the other universes were the other universes. Like the saint universe, the saint universe is translation, but in the angel translation in angel, translation, on translation. That was translation, was translation, there were translation of course church there. Moreover, the angel universe was dozens of times bigger than the saint universe. Therefore, the church division was about the same as the saint universe. The archangels that these 18 winged angels spoke of were actually the supreme existences of the church, 26 winged angels. 26 winged angels were actually Tao ancestor powerhouses of the saint universe. Among these 18 winged angels, there were many 26 winged angels in the angel universe. Moreover, each archangel was a high and mighty existence. They were existences that ordinary angels believed in. Very many? Tao ancestor was the most powerful existence in the universe. Even if there were more Tao ancestors in the angel universe than in the saint universe, it wouldn't be too outrageous. He was convinced of this. In addition to this basic information, Murong also learned about the cultivation method of the angels, meditation. Meditation was actually the meditation cultivation of the saint universe's cultivators. They absorbed the power of the angels during meditation to increase their strength. Moreover, the cultivation methods of the angels in the angel universe were similar, and they were basically the same, because they were all disciples of the church. After some research, Murong had confirmed that these angels were indeed a mass of energy. It was just like the soul bodies from before. However, what made Murong slightly gratified was that these angels all had souls. In this way, his soul attack was also effective against the angels. They were not flesh and blood, but only energy bodies. However, angels could also combine and give birth to the next generation of angels. However, because they were not flesh and blood, their descendants were not related to them by blood. They were only somewhat similar in soul. In fact, this was the same principle as flesh and blood. Flesh and blood could inherit bloodlines, while angels could inherit souls. If they're not flesh and blood, even if they have intelligence, they're not life. In this way, I could devour a lot of them to improve my cultivation, Murong thought to himself. Devouring life and flesh and blood cultivators to improve his cultivation was really something that Murong could not do. At most, he could only refine his enemies to improve his cultivation. However, angels did not have this concern. After all, an angel was just a mass of energy. An angel is actually a soul plus a mass of energy. Murong's heart skipped a beat. In the next moment, a soul clone appeared beside him. Then, he smashed the soul of one of the angels into pieces with a slap. Possession. With Murong's current soul, he easily succeeded in possession. Moreover, after fusing with the angel's memories on the surface, Murong had completely become an angel. However, Murong's soul was still a little different from an angel's soul. This could only be slowly changed with time. Disguise complete. After instructing the angel clone to practice a few sets of battle techniques and familiarizing himself with the angel's fighting style, Murong considered his disguise a success. Don't be fooled by how easy it was. That was because he directly possessed the body. If it were anyone else, how would they possess the body? To possess the body, they would have to give up the original physical body. Moreover, even if the body was successfully possessed, they would have to adapt to the new body. Whether they could recover to their peak strength was still a problem. Moreover, in this world, who could split their soul and condense a soul clone? Other than Murong, there are not many who could do it. Therefore, it was too difficult for others to disguise themselves as angels. With a wave of his hand, the 7 angels were annihilated by Murong. These people's cultivation was too low, and the amount of energy they contained was not high. Therefore, Murong could not be bothered to devour them because they were basically useless. Just as Murong was about to leave Hichu Luo Shu after destroying the 7 angels, he noticed 7 pinky, finger-sized crystals that resembled teardrops falling to the ground. 7 crystals corresponding to the 7 angels. In other words, after every angel was annihilated, a teardrop-like crystal would appear. It was like the crystal cores of vicious beasts, and also like the godheads and saint godheads in the divine world and holy world. However, the energy contained in these teardrop crystals was higher and purer. The energy contained in these angels' tears is equivalent to the energy contained in the angels when they were alive. After inspecting them, Muronyu revealed a look of shock. Angel's tears was the name he gave to these teardrop crystals. Every teardrop contained an extremely large amount of energy, equivalent to the energy contained in the angels when they were alive. Moreover, this energy was not ordinary angel energy. It was purer than angel energy and more suitable for devouring. This angel energy can be directly devoured by cultivators. The effect is millions of times better than crystals. Moreover, this angel energy contains the various comprehension of the angels when they were alive. Muronyu came to this conclusion after absorbing a teardrop. If I can kill a large number of Great Virtue Realm angels, a large number of Great Virtue Realm experts will appear in Shenzhen. Haha, this time, even if I can't get the treasure that can help me advance to the Tao Ancestor Realm, it's not bad to get more of these angels' tears. Muronyu laughed heartily, and with a flicker, he stepped out of Hichu Luoshu. Of course, it was only his angel avatar that went out. His main body was still in Hichu Luoshu. As expected, I don't feel like I'm being watched anymore. Here, it's like a fish entering the water. After feeling it for a while, Muronyu discovered that the angel universe's origin had acknowledged his identity as an angel. Let's go find out about that treasure first. Just as Muronyu was about to leave, his heart skipped a beat. There's actually an 18-winged angel here. Before his voice fell, a figure had already descended from the sky. At the same time, a huge fist came crashing down with enough power to destroy the world. Unlucky, Muronyu fell helpless. He had just succeeded in his disguise when he encountered an invader from another universe. However, Muronyu wanted to see what kind of reward the angel universe would give him after he killed the invader. Damn invader from another world, the Lord will judge you. Light of judgment. Muronyu imitated the angel's appearance and roared. He immediately went up and attacked the invader from an unknown universe. He knew from the memories of those angels. In addition to the invader from the holy universe, a large number of other universes had invaded the angel universe. Light of judgment was the battle technique of the church. Using the angel's power, it released a dazzling light that contained the terrifying power of judgment. It was like a trial. When ordinary cultivators encountered this move, they would be blinded. Then, they would be judged. Ordinary cultivators were not a match at all. Insignificant skill. Take a look at the ultimate skill of my martial Tao universe. 7 stars, He Gem and Fist. Fist moves mountains and rivers. The invader roared. His divine fist was invincible, and he unleashed a ferocious attack. Chapter 2259. It turned out to be a powerhouse from the 5 universes. Murongyu's heart stirred. This was the first time he had seen a powerhouse from the martial Tao universe. Taking a closer look, this person was at the initial Tao realm. His body exuded an aura that was completely different from the sacred universe, divine universe, and even angel universe. The martial Tao's aura was very sharp and oppressive. When that person punched out, his entire body seemed to have transformed into an incomparably huge fist. The fist intent was shocking, and there was not the slightest flaw in his body. Muronyu immediately concluded that this person's combat power was extremely strong. At least, when facing a sacred universe cultivator of the same realm, there were not many people who could defeat him. This was a cultivator from the martial Tao universe. His strength was incomparably strong. Legend had it that the martial Tao universe cultivated Tao comprehension. They specialized in martial skills. Any combat skill unleashed by them would be several times more powerful. In fact, the combat skills unleashed by others were full of flaws in the eyes of the martial Tao universe cultivators. Legend had it that all the martial skills in the world came from the martial Tao universe. The martial Tao universe was the birthplace of all martial skills. Of course, this was just a legend. What was the truth? Muronyu did not know. Moreover, there were many ways to kill people in this world. There are not only martial skills, but also all kinds of divine abilities. Divine abilities were not martial skills. The fist moved mountains and rivers, and the flickering fist shadows covered the world, carrying a terrifying fist intent and attack power as they suddenly bombarded down. With a loud bang, the light of judgment unleashed by Murong Yu's angel avatar was directly shattered. The powerhouse from the martial Dao universe did not let it go and continued to bombard it. Angels and martial Dao universe cultivators were equally powerful, and angels were stronger than martial Dao universe cultivators of the same realm. However, Murong Yu's angel avatar was a realm lower than the other party, so it was not a match at all. Therefore, Murong Yu's angel avatar was defeated in one blow. However, it was only a defeat. It was impossible for the other party to kill Murong Yu's angel avatar. Swish with a thought, an enormous amount of energy flowed out from Murong Yu's body and into the angelic clone like a torrential flood. Boom, crack, crack. With the infusion of incomparable power, the angelic clone's power began to soar. In just a few breaths of time, another pair of wings of the same level grew out of the angel avatar's back. A 20-winged angel. The 20-winged seraph, which was the initial Dao realm, was now at the same level as his opponent. Kill! Murong Yu bellowed. His angelic clone went up to meet the martial Dao universe's experts once again and engaged in a fierce battle. 7 stars hegemony. Fist moves mountains and rivers. Fist breaks the firmament. Fist shatters the universe. The cultivator from a martial Dao universe roared. They were not afraid of angels who had suddenly increased their realm. Bursting with a powerful aura, he attacked crazily. Light of judgment, cross/, angel's divine fist. Murong Yu did not show any weakness. He continued to use the angel combat skills that he had secretly learned. In the beginning, Murong Yu's combat skills were still a little rusty. But after many attacks, he became very proficient. This shocked the cultivator from the martial Dao universe. He would never have thought that the angel he was facing was not a real angel, but a false angel who had been possessed. During the battle, Murong Yu was surprised to find that the battle power of his angel avatar was getting stronger and stronger. This was not because his realm had increased, but because more angel power around him had been driven to attack the cultivator from the martial Dao universe. This must be the secret interference of the angel universe's origin. Murong Yu was well aware of this. It was just that the angel universe's origin was so lifelike, which made him a little worried. Their realms were about the same. But at the same realm, the angel was a little stronger than the cultivator from the martial Dao universe, coupled with the secret interference of the angel universe's origin. Soon, the powerhouse from a martial Dao universe gradually fell into a disadvantageous position. The angel had the upper hand. This was incredible. Murong Yu found that after his angel avatar gained the upper hand, his ability to mobilize the angel power around him was getting stronger and stronger. On the other side, the cultivator from a martial Dao universe was unable to absorb the angel power, and his power began to run out. If this continued, the cultivator from the martial Dao universe would definitely be defeated. He can actually use the power of the origin. If a Dao ancestor powerhouse is in a life and death battle, one side is suppressed by the angel universe's origin, while the other side can use the power of the origin to suppress the opponent. How can they fight? In the angel universe, aren't the angels invincible? Murong Yu thought in his heart, but his face was a little unsightly. Honorable, supreme origin, please give me great power. Let me kill the invader in front of me, and then sacrifice me to you. In the middle of the battle, the angel avatar suddenly prayed with a pious face. This was a method of the angel, which was said to be able to borrow the power of the universe's origin to kill the enemy. Murong Yu had never tried it, so he decided to see if it was true. Buzz. Before the angel avatar's voice had died away, Murong Yu felt the space around him faintly tremble. Then, an inexplicable force suddenly fell on the angel avatar. Boom! Crack! Crack! Second stage, initial Dao realm. Third stage, initial Dao realm. In an instant, Murong Yu's angel avatar's strength rose by 2 small realms. Originally, the cultivator from a martial Dao universe had been suppressed and was having a hard time fighting. Now, the angel avatar seemed to have been assisted by God, rising by 2 small realms. After his strength soared, he was even less of a match. The Lord said to Judge Yu, "Light of judgment." The angel avatar once again shouted piously and shot out the light of judgment. Bang! This time, the power of the light of judgment was hundreds of times stronger than before. The cultivator from a martial Dao universe was no match for it at all, and he was slapped hard by the angel avatar. Suddenly, the cultivator from the martial Dao universe let out a blood-curdling scream and was sent flying while vomiting blood. Murong Yu's angel avatar immediately took a step forward and blasted out a fist, Angel Divine Fist. The Angel Divine Fist was a popular consummate skill of the church, although it was popular and everyone could cultivate it. However, the power of this attack was quite strong. The cultivator from the martial Dao universe was sent flying again. The Lord said to kill you. The angel avatar attacked again and again. In the end, the cultivator from a martial Dao universe was beaten into a cloud of blood mist and couldn't be more dead. Swish, after killing the cultivator, Murong Yu withdrew the power he had poured into the angel avatar. The power of the angel universe's origin on the angel avatar seemed to have disappeared. In the blink of an eye, the angel avatar returned to its original state and became a cultivator in the selfless realm. At this moment, a white light suddenly appeared above the sky god avatar's head out of thin air. Before Murong Yu could react, the light had already enveloped the angel avatar. Boom, crack, crack. At this moment, Murong Yu clearly saw the power of the angel avatar rapidly rising. Not long after, the pair of wings that had just disappeared appeared again. 20-winged angel. When the white light disappeared, the angel avatar's realm had stabilized at 20-winged angel, which was the initial Dao realm. Its foundation was solid, as if it had worked hard to cultivate it. There were no adverse reactions. Is this the reward of the angel universe's origin? Murong Yu was completely stunned. The angel avatar had only killed an invader, and the angel universe's origin had raised his cultivation by a large realm? Wasn't this reward a little too shocking? There were so many invaders now. If he killed a few more, wouldn't everyone be able to be called a Dao Lord or even a Dao Ancestor Realm expert? However, Murong Yu quickly shook his head. He felt that this was impossible. If it was possible, the angel universe would probably be the most powerful universe among the countless universes in the endless chaos. The reason why the angel avatar was directly raised by a small realm. That was because he had single-handedly killed an invader whose realm was higher than his. Moreover, it was because the angel avatar's realm was too low. If the angel avatar was allowed to kill a Dao Lord expert by himself, the reward of the angel universe's origin would definitely not allow him to directly advance to the Dao Lord realm. At most, it would only be a slight improvement. However, a slight improvement was still quite terrifying. It was much easier than cultivating for countless eras to improve a little. Moreover, although the angels' combat strength was strong, how many of them could kill an enemy who was a major realm higher? After all, it was very rare. However, Murong Yu's angel avatar could. In this way, he could even kill a large number of invaders to quickly raise the cultivation of his avatar. At the same time, Murong Yu could also kill more angels to raise the cultivation of his main body. Whether it was killing invaders or angels, Murong Yu would be the biggest winner. Of course, as long as they didn't provoke the invaders from other universes, Murong Yu wouldn't kill them. After all, they were all flesh and blood, unlike the angels who were only energy bodies. Of course, if he encountered cultivators from the divine universe, Murong Yu wouldn't mind killing them. However, the most important thing now was to find the treasure that could allow one to advance to the Dao Ancestor Realm. Thus, Murong Yu left this barren planet and flew toward a nearby church branch based on the memories of the possessed angel avatar. The church branch wasn't very large, but the angelic power here was very dense. At least 10,000 times that of the sacred universe. One had to know that back in the sacred universe, Muron, you had to rely on Patriarchon Yi's memories to barely find a place with 10,000 times the amount of heaven and earth energy for the tyrant to cultivate. But in the angel universe, a mediocre church branch had such terrifying angelic power. Muron, you had the thought of taking root in the angel universe. If he cultivated here, he would definitely be able to achieve twice the results with half the effort. Chapter 2260. The angel universe was indeed powerful. As soon as Muronyu arrived, he saw a few 20-winged angels fly past. They were in a hurry. If this was the Saint universe, there wouldn't be any initial Tao realm experts in this small place. Even if they were selfless realm cultivators, there would only be a few of them. However, in a small place like the angel universe, angels of the selfless realm, namely 18 winged angels, were everywhere. There were also plenty of 20-winged angels. In this small city, Muronyu even went to the church in this small city to ask around. However, he didn't find any specific information about the treasure that was about to appear. That treasure was about to appear. Even the cultivators from other universes had received the news and were now flocking over. Naturally, the news spread even more fiercely in the angel universe. However, where was the treasure? When was it going to appear? No one knew. Or maybe they didn't have the right to know. Faust, what are you still doing here? Aren't you going to kill the invaders with me, so that you can be rewarded by the universe origin? Suddenly, a loud roar sounded beside Muronyu. At the same time, a 20-winged angel looked coldly at Muronyu. Muronyu was stunned for a moment before he reacted. The angel he possessed was called Faust. So the 20-winged angel was talking to him. Hodgson, didn't you notice that I'm already a 20-winged angel? From now on, don't yell at me, or I won't mind killing and devouring you. Muronyu, who was Faust, said murderously. According to Faust's memories, Hodgson wasn't a good person. Usually, he relied on his strength to bully Faust in every possible way. Now, Hodgson wanted Muronyu to kill the invaders. He would definitely kill the invaders at the last moment. He wanted Muronyu to go with him so that he could kill more people. Hearing Muronyu's words, Hodgson looked behind Faust. As expected, he saw 10 pairs of pure white wings. In the angel universe, it was easy to distinguish a person's level. He only needed to look at the wings. The more wings one had, the stronger one would be. Of course, even angels with the same wings had differences in strength. Seeing that Muronyu had already become a 20-winged angel, Hodgson was stunned at first, but then he laughed sinisterly. Kid, don't think that you're a 20-winged angel like me. You just broken through, so how can you be my match? Now obediently follow me to kill the invaders. Otherwise, I'll kill you. Boom. Muronyu didn't say a word and directly punched out. He hadn't come to the angel universe to be bullied. He had come to seek treasures and improve his cultivation. Does this Hodgson really think he's Faust? Does he really think he's Faust? You dare to attack me? Hodgson roared furiously. He also erupted with a powerful force and blasted towards Muronyu. In the blink of an eye, their fists collided fiercely in the void. After an earth-shattering explosion, Hodgson's fist was shattered into millions of pieces. Muronyu, on the other hand, didn't move. However, that wasn't all. Muronyu took a step forward and punched out again. Bang! Hodgson didn't even have time to react before he was blown apart by Muronyu's punch. Then, Muronyu grabbed Hodgson's energy body and devoured it. The angel universe was a cruel world. Killing and devouring each other to improve one's cultivation was a common occurrence. Therefore, even though Muronyu dared to devour Hodgson on the street, no one stopped him. It was just that there were angels nearby watching the show. Watching the show was the same no matter which universe it was. Buzz. At this moment, some vague information appeared in Muronyu's mind. It wasn't words, nor was it thoughts. Instead, A piece of information appeared in his mind. There wasn't much information, only a few words. In a place not far from this small city, a powerful invader was on a killing spree. The angel universe's origin wanted Murongyu to kill the invader. At the same time, the origin also vaguely expressed that if Murongyu could kill the invader, he would be rewarded. Without any hesitation, Murongyu soared into the sky, flapped his 20 wings, and flew quickly towards the location given by the origin. In any case, he had to leave this small city. A great Tao realm expert from the divine universe. Murongyu had just arrived when he saw an initial Tao realm cultivator from the divine universe going on a killing spree here. He killed so many angels that they threw away their armor and suffered heavy casualties. Haha, the Pope is nothing more than this. The angel universe is too trashy. It's not comparable to our divine universe at all. The expert from the divine universe laughed as he went on a killing spree. The surrounding angels were enraged. That was because their supreme pontiff had been killed by the intruder just now. The Pope was the highest authority of the church branch. The Pope of this small city wasn't very strong. When he encountered the expert from the divine universe, he was instantly killed. It was too wasteful. Seeing the angels fall one by one and return to the angel universe, Murongyu couldn't help but feel a heartache. However, these angels were too weak. Even if Murongyu's original body devoured them, it wouldn't have much effect. Kill. The divine universe cultivator was extremely strong. He had already reached the peak of the initial Tao realm. If he killed him, Murongyu's angel avatar should be rewarded by the origin of the universe, right? Therefore, he didn't hesitate anymore. With a roar, he rushed forward. A bunch of trash. The divine universe cultivator laughed and punched at Murongyu through the air. Buzz. At this moment, a terrifying soul pressure suddenly erupted from Murongyu's angel avatar and instantly enveloped the divine universe cultivator. With a plop, the divine universe cultivator's soul was suppressed, and he knelt down. Even the divine universe cultivator's physical body knelt on the ground because his soul was suppressed. Murongyu's soul could even easily suppress a low-level Tao Lord, let alone an initial Tao realm expert like the divine universe. Pooh! Murongyu raised his hand and slashed down. Before Shinyujo could even react, he was already killed by Murongyu. Schwa. After he killed the divine universe cultivator, the reward from the angel universe's origin of a universe arrived. Instantly, Murongyu's realm increased by a small level. The speed at which his strength was increasing was not just an ordinary level of pleasure. Most importantly, there were no side effects at all. If the sacred universe's origin was so strong, then the Sacred Universe Alliance wouldn't need to resist the invasion of the divine universe in the broken universe. Instead, it would let them enter the sacred universe. If the cultivators of the sacred universe killed a large number of invaders in the sacred universe, their overall strength would definitely skyrocket. Unfortunately, the sacred universe wasn't that strong. Damned invaders. I think we're just slaves and their souls aren't enough. After we're done robbing their resources, we should destroy their entire universe. Apart from the angels, all life forms are lowly and unsuitable to continue living in the endless chaos. Seeing the invaders killed, some of the angels began to curse. These angels were constantly enslaving cultivators from other universes. They wanted those cultivators to become their followers and rob the resources of their universes. In fact, it wasn't just these angels who wanted the angels to unify the endless chaos and destroy all life forms. The other angels had the same thought. This was the conclusion Murongyu came to after reading the memories of many angels. The angel universe is so powerful. If they really want to destroy the world, then the other universes probably won't be able to resist. Murongyu frowned slightly. These angels seemed sanctimonious on the surface, but in reality, they were extremely violent and savage. In fact, they should be the ones to be destroyed, not the other life forms. After all, these angels weren't living beings. Faust, how did you become so strong? You must have received a lot of rewards this time. right? Someone came over and looked at Murong-yu in shock. Do you want to know? Murong-yu smiled. The other angels nodded fiercely. Because I'm not a true angel. Murong-yu snickered and unleashed a soul storm. All of a sudden, the faces of the surrounding angels were filled with terror. Their souls had already been annihilated. Devour. Murong-yu opened his mouth wide and directly swallowed all of the energy. After being refined by the chaos furnace, only a pile of angels' tears was left. Murong-yu put them into the Hichu Luo Shu. No matter how small a mosquito is, it's still meat. Since that's the case, I might as well start a massacre. In any case, these angels aren't good people. A cold light flashed through Murong-yu's eyes, and then he took a step forward. A short while later, he returned to the small city he'd been in. The city wasn't large, but it still had over 100 million angels. Soul Storm. Destroy the world. Murong-yu roared in his heart. The soul storm had already enveloped the entire city. Pooh! 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 Although there were quite a few initial Dao angels in the city, there weren't even any Dao lords. Thus, there was no one who could resist Murong-yu, who had the combat strength of a low-level Dao lord. Large swathes of angels fell. In less than a few breaths of time, the souls of over 100 million angels had been wiped out. In the end, Murong-yu used the chaos furnace to refine them all. Finally, after refining over 100 million angels, Murong-yu's cultivation had advanced slightly. However, there was still a long way to go before he could break through to the next realm. However, over 100 million angels' tears could greatly increase Shenzhen's overall strength. He should be able to nurture even more Dao realm experts. Chapter 2261. After destroying the angel city, Murong-yu plundered the city clean and smashed it to smithereens with a single slap. The more angels that died, the fewer cultivators that would be enslaved by the angels. Naturally, the chances of the angels destroying other universes would be reduced as well. However, Murong-yu felt that it was a pity that the treasures used by the angels were filled with the aura of light. Apart from angels, they weren't suitable for others to use at all. However, Murong-yu still plundered them all. Perhaps they would be useful in the future? Moreover, he could use the chaos furnace to refine all of these treasures to improve his cultivation and realm. In the following days, Murong-yu constantly ventured deeper into the angel universe. No matter if he encountered angels or invaders from other universes, he killed all that he could. Murong-yu had to kill angels. However, as long as they didn't attack him first, Murong-yu wouldn't take the initiative to kill cultivators from other universes. After all, they were living beings and not energy bodies like the angels. I've finally broken through the second level of the selfless realm. On this day, Murong-yu finally accumulated enough energy after devouring a low-level Dao Lord and successfully broke through to the second level of the selfless realm. The higher one's realm, the more energy one would need. At this moment, Murong-yu had already been in the angel universe for an entire year. During this year, he'd basically spent every day cultivating and even refining angels. Whether it was the power of angels drifting in the heavens and the earth, or directly refining angels with high realms, Murong-yu would obtain a vast amount of pure energy. However, the energy he needed was simply too much. During this year, the energy he'd refined would have entered the initial Dao realm if it were any other selfless realm cultivator. However, he'd only advanced by a small realm. However, Murong-yu's angel clone didn't have such a terrifying accumulation. At this moment, it had already reached the peak of the initial Dao realm. It was only a step away from breaking through to the Dao Lord realm and becoming a 22-winged angel. However, the origin of the angel universe wasn't omnipotent. It could directly improve a cultivator's cultivation. However, there was an enormous difference between Dao Lords and Dao Lords. It wasn't that easy to break through. Therefore, even the origin of the universe could not directly raise the level of Murong-yu's angelic avatar. If he wanted to break through, he still needed to comprehend it himself. Otherwise, the angel universe would be filled with Dao Lords, and even Dao Fathers. However, Muronyu's harvest was not only this. In the angel universe, he had two avatars. One was the angel avatar that allowed him to run amok in the angel universe. The other was old ancestor Hun, of the soul race. During this period of time, Muronyu had killed a large number of angels. Aside from providing them for his main body to devour and cultivate, most of them were provided to ancestor Han. However, that power had been purified by Muronyu. Otherwise, even if ancestor Han was a peak Dao Lord, it would still be impossible for him to directly refine and absorb it. Even so, old ancestor Han Yi's strength had increased. Compared to before, his combat strength had increased by at least 10%. So long as he was able to take that final step, he would be able to become a Dao Father. However, how many peak Dao Lords were unable to take that final step in their entire lives? Therefore, when they found out that the angel universe had a treasure that could allow one to break through to the Dao Father realm, the experts of the various universes had rushed over. The treasure is going to appear in the wilderness temple this time? Muronyu finally gained something from reading the memories of that Dao Lord angel. A 24-winged angel had a certain status in the angel universe. For example, the 24-winged angel that Muronyu had ambushed and killed knew where the treasure was. It was the 24-winged angel's memories that allowed Muronyu to know that the entire angel universe was shaking at this moment. It wasn't just the invaders. Even the experts of the angel universe had rushed over. Even in the angel universe, it was extremely difficult for a Dao Father to break through to the archangel realm. It had been many years since anyone had broken through to the Dao Father realm in the angel universe. As for the treasure that was about to appear in the wilderness temple, it was said to be the relic of a fallen archangel from the primordial era. As for what it was exactly, the Dao Lord didn't know. However, he did know that the treasure could allow a peak Dao Lord to break through to the Dao Father realm with a 100% success rate. In fact, there was even a certain chance that ordinary Dao Lords and even Dao Lords would break through to the Dao Father realm. This news was truly shocking. Muronyu and the others didn't know that the treasure was actually so heaven-defying. Currently, the Wilderness Temple's star field had been occupied by the various Angel Universe experts. Of course, in addition to the Angel Universe experts, quite a few experts from other universes had appeared as well. The Saint Universe, the God Universe, and the Martial Universe were just a few of them. There were also the Giant Universe, the Magic Universe, the Mecha Universe, the Fiend Universe, the Yiksha Universe, and so on. There were many universes that Muronyu had never heard of. However, many of these universes were on the other side of the Angel Universe. Thus, Muronyu didn't see any of the experts of these universes as he went deeper into the universe. Some of these universes were weaker than the Angel Universe. However, some universes were similar to the Angel Universe, such as the Fiend Universe and so on. In fact, the Giant Universe was even stronger than the Angel Universe. Wilderness Temple, I'm coming. Because the treasure was about to appear in the next few days, Muronyu didn't waste any time. He directly shot towards a Wilderness Temple at his fastest speed. The Wilderness Temple wasn't actually a temple that had fallen into desolation. Instead, it was the name of a star field. According to legend, the Angel Universe wasn't like it was now in the primordial era. At that time, although it was still the Angel Universe, there was no church. At that time, the Angel Universe was ruled by a colossus like the current church, the temple. However, later on, for some unknown reason, the temple suddenly fell into decline. In the end, the church took the opportunity to rise up and become the colossus it was today. Some people even felt that although the church was powerful now, it was far inferior to the temple of the primordial era. Back then, the temple's headquarters was in the Wilderness Temple's star field. However, it wasn't called the Wilderness Temple at that time. After the temple fell, this place gradually became desolate, which was why it was called the Wilderness Temple. For countless years, there would occasionally be some treasures from the primordial era appearing in the wilderness temple's star field. They were extremely powerful. However, after so many years, many of the treasures here had been plundered. Buzz Murong hadn't arrived at the wilderness temple's star field yet. He was still a few star fields away. However, he had already sensed the powerful aura coming from the wilderness temple. Waves of terrifying aura were like torrents, passing through the void and spreading into the distance, shaking the heavens and earth. Even though Murong was a few star fields away, he still felt a certain amount of pressure. As he went deeper, the pressure became even greater. In the star fields around the wilderness temple's star field, it was no longer suitable for cultivators below the Great Tao realm to survive. Therefore, the closer he got to the wilderness temple star field, the harder it was for Murong to see cultivators and angels below the Great Tao realm. Occasionally, the ones who appeared were Great Tao realm experts. Are these the giants? Looking at the giants in front of him that were like pillars supporting the sky, Murong was a little shocked. In the past, Murong had also seen giants with the giant bloodline in the sacred universe. However, those giants were only a few dozen or a few hundred meters tall. However, none of the giants in front of him were less than 100,000 meters tall. In fact, Murong even saw some giants that were more than 1,000,000 meters tall. However, there were only a few giants that were 1,000,000 meters tall. Murong could sense that they were all supreme existences on the level of Tao Masters. Their strength definitely surpassed that of the Overlord in his remnant soul state. What did 1,000,000 meters mean? 1,000 kilometers, which was 2,000 miles tall. 2,000 miles tall. A cultivator with the height of a normal person like Murong was not even as big as a strand of hair on those giants. It was simply a huge pressure. The giants didn't hide at all. They gathered together in groups of 3 to 5 and occupied a part of the wilderness temple. The origin of the angel universe couldn't directly attack. It could only guide the angels to attack. However, these were too powerful. Only 24 winged angels and 26 winged angels could resist them. However, the goal of those existences was the treasure that was about to appear, not the invaders. To them, as long as they obtained the treasure, it didn't matter even if the entire angel universe was razed to the ground. After all, their own strength was the most important. In addition to the giants, there were also some abnormally ugly humanoid creatures. These weren't human cultivators, but the legendary Yaksha. Although they were ugly, they were extremely powerful. Among the Yaksha experts, there were also Tao ancestor level experts. People from the demon universe also came. All of them were incomparably handsome. The men were handsome, and the women were beautiful. However, each and every one of them was shrouded in black, demonic aura. They also had Tao ancestor powerhouses. Although the cultivators of these universes looked different, their cultivation methods were similar. However, Murong saw two universes with different cultivation methods than everyone else. The magic universe and the mecha universe. In the magic universe, every cultivator's physical body was very weak. In fact, some people's faces were as pale as snow, as if they were sick and weak. A gust of wind seemed to blow them away. However, these people's combat strength was extremely terrifying. Moreover, their cultivation was the same as that of the angels, only meditation. They communicated between heaven and earth, and then drove the power of heaven and earth to kill the enemy. Often, when the powerhouses of the magic universe attacked, it was a large-scale group attack. Although the cultivators of the magic universe didn't cultivate their own physical bodies, they still cultivated a system. It was just that the cultivation methods were different. However, the mecha universe was completely different. The mecha universe was a universe of science and technology. They didn't have any combat strength. Instead, they armed themselves with the power of science and technology. Using the power of science and technology, they made them immortal. Using the power of science and technology, they created terrifying mechas and swept through all directions. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.